Well, hey, what's up and good evening. I cannot wait to be on here with you tonight and looking forward to the conversation that we're going to have. And I hope you're anticipating with good anticipation, great anticipation about the conversation that we're going to have. I don't usually come on Wednesdays because I have church on Wednesdays and I don't like to, uh, you know, even be thinking about this kind of stuff whenever my mind's focused on the things of the Lord. But there was a lot that was happening today, and there was a lot of conversation that I felt like would be good for us to be able to tackle together. And so I'm glad you're here. Do me a favor and hit the like button on the video. Shoot us out into the YouTube algorithm. Let's get started going in a good way today. And then let me know where you're from. Some of you guys are already hopping on it. Tony, all the way from South Australia. Wow. Rushville, Indiana in the house. T. Rosie says justice for Gabby. Hello from Sacramento, California. Simple Things says hi from Jersey. Hi from Iowa. Mary B is watching in Delaware tonight. I'm from New Jersey. Tiffany says that she's watching from Georgia and Houston, Texas in the house. Sharon, we're so glad to have you on. Looks like we have Eleni French from High Point, North Carolina. And from England, there's Julie watching today. Thank you guys so much for tuning in, literally from all over the place. Sandy's coming from Massachusetts. Thank you for joining in today. We have somebody from Wales, Matt, watching from Wales. So glad that you guys are able to join us. It takes a little bit of time for people to join in on the call, and I understand that. When you hit that like button, what it does is it pushes us to that front page of the YouTube algorithm. It sends to people to this channel who are not yet subscribers but might be interested in this kind of content. So just by you hitting the like button, it's a huge help. It actually helps us significantly. And so thank you for doing that. Toronto, we have Sammy all the way from Toronto. New Jersey is here. Oregon is here. Thank you guys for watching. And something happened. Something happened today that I said last night should and maybe would happen. Does anybody know what it is? I was talking about sooner rather than later, that lawn is going to have to be mowed. And sure enough, first thing this morning, guess what Christopher Laundrie was out there doing? He was out there mowing that lawn. And so I was exactly right about that. And that's just one of many things that we've been discussing together as a channel that ends up becoming a reality. I want to play this video for you in no surprise. The county coroner from the Teton County that performed the autopsy on the body of Gabby Petito said some things in the interview that began to stick out. Kelsey, thank you for becoming a member of the Feller fam. By the way, if you haven't become a member of the Feller fam, today's a good day to do so because we have a brand new emoji that came out. And so I want to encourage you, take a look at that emoji. Let me know what you think about it. And Kelsey, we're excited to have you be a part of the Feller fam. But the Teton County coroner who performed the autopsy yesterday in his press conference said in a statement that I thought was really interesting, that there's several other, he said, domestic violence situations in the United States that are not getting the type of coverage. And he's maybe even talking about in Teton County that are not getting the type of coverage as this one is. And so it's very interesting to me that now he's doing an interview with Brian Inton. And I haven't honestly had a chance to watch this interview because, like I said, I was really focused on church and things that I do on Wednesdays. And so I have not been up to speed on this interview. I have no idea what's being said, but my guess would be that he's having to backtrack that statement just a bit. And so let's find out together what he's saying.
Dr. Blue, you said yesterday that the cause of death was manual strangulation, throttling. Can you explain what that means, especially the throttling part?
Throttling generally means that it was done with human hands as opposed to an instrument. It doesn't necessarily have to be, but manual strangulation basically means that it was not done with equipment.
How do you determine that?
Well, it's determined by the nature of the injuries around the neck.
Dr. Blue says he's not allowed to get into Gabby's specific injuries because of the ongoing FBI investigation. He says her body was discovered nearly a month after she was killed.
What sort of challenges are involved in an autopsy when a body, as you described yesterday, has been out in the wild for 3 to 4 weeks?
In a situation where any body is out in the outside, whether it's exposed to the elements and insects and animals, there is various forms of decomposition.
At yesterday's news conference, the coroner brought up domestic violence and today clarified his comments this way.
There were indications that Gabby was in relationship, a domestic relationship, which could play a part in this case, but I don't have any direct evidence of that.
So a lot of things that the coroner said he just cannot talk about at this stage of the investigation. He did, though, confirm that both DNA and toxicology tests were done. He would not elaborate, though. Marnie?
Brian, one question I had, did Dr. Blue say whether or not the FBI knew and was supportive of him releasing the information on the autopsy when he did?
Well, that's a good question, because you'll remember in that actual signed autopsy report, it was dated October 5th, which means all of this was sorted out more than a week ago. I asked him about that. He said he was holding off on going public because the U.S. attorney asked that he please not release it publicly until yesterday. What that means about what was going on behind the scenes, we're not exactly sure.
Also, Brian, we have learned Gabby's family, they're headed to Wyoming right now.
Yes, Gabby's family on the way to Wyoming right now to pick up her remains. Obviously, hard to imagine what they're going through with the release of the cause of death, but we know that Gabby will be cremated.
And the Laundrie's in the home behind you. We just saw that light on the garage just flip on. Brian Entin, thank you. A lot of questions tonight about if this is a turning point in the case, and is this manhunt going to continue on for weeks or months for Brian Laundrie, former FBI agent Jennifer Coffendorfer, and Florida State Attorney Dave Ehrenberg joining us once again live tonight. Thank you to you both. Dave, I want to start with you. After that press conference from the coroner, you tweeted that you believe that murder charges are imminent. Why?
Yeah, good evening, Marnie and Jennifer. I think they're most likely imminent because we originally knew the manner of death, homicide, but we didn't know the cause of death. And that's something prosecutors are waiting to find out. Now we know it's manual strangulation, which makes it more likely that I think that Brian Laundrie will be charged with Gabby's death, because manual strangulation is a crime that is very personal, very intense, and it's something that often happens in domestic cases. And look, the coroner seems to indicate that he thought this was a domestic case, unless that was a mistake that he said that this is one of many domestic incidents. And so why would he say that if he had evidence that someone else was involved, that there was DNA of someone else on Gabby's body? Would the coroner have said that this looks like a domestic incident like all the others, unless he misspoke? So I think what you saw yesterday really moves the ball forward to charging Brian Laundrie, not to mention the timeline. I mean, when they said that the death occurred 3 to 4 weeks ago, that matches the timeline of the last time Gabby was talked to, was known to be alive.
Yep. The coroner did clarify that he wasn't speaking directly about Gabby's case with the domestic violence, but it did catch a lot of people's attention yesterday, Dave, as you said. Jennifer, do you agree that charges are coming based on the autopsy?
I think charges are coming. I'm not sure how imminent they are, but I would expect them sooner rather than later, definitely. This autopsy is crucial for making that type of a charge.
One other thing, Jennifer, you have told me as recently as last night, you believe Brian Laundrie does have allies, that he's getting help. What leads you to believe that?
I believe that because of the amount of time that has gone on and passed, and he has still remained undetected. And the attorney has repeatedly said he is representing the family and he's representing Brian Laundrie. You would not represent somebody who wasn't alive.
Dave, so let's talk about the legalities of that. If somebody is in fact helping Brian Laundrie to hide, they've been helping him along the way, what are the possible legal ramifications that they or that person could face?
They can be charged with accessory after the fact, which is a serious felony, especially in a murder case. That would mean that someone would have to know that Brian committed a crime, and they would have to do something to prevent his arrest or punishment. So, for example, if someone destroyed evidence, if someone knew Brian had committed a crime and helped him leave and get out of town, that person could be arrested for being an accessory after the fact. But it is not a crime to remain silent or to lawyer up.
For you both, do you think that Brian Laundrie's attorney knows where he is tonight? Jennifer, let's start with you.
I think Brian Laundrie's attorney does, generally speaking, know where he is at, and I think he's in communication with him.
Dave?
I defer to Jennifer. She has the experience as an investigator, so she would know. But I have to say this, there is no affirmative obligation for Brian's lawyer to come forward and tell investigators where he is if he knew where he is, because he has the same right to remain silent against self-incrimination as everyone else. There's no affirmative obligation on anyone to have to say what they know. But if they lie to investigators, that would be a crime.
So that was a pretty interesting interview. Kind of what I expected and had sort of set up before this interview. I think that coroner is going to have to sort of backtrack on some of his statements. Let's see what else Brian Hinton put out today. Obviously, that was probably the big thing. The attorney has repeatedly said he's representing the family. He's representing Brian Laundrie. So the FBI agent I thought was interesting. She said, you would not represent someone who is not alive. And then Dr. Brent Blue says there are indications that Gabby was in a domestic relationship. And so, which could play a part in this case. And so basically he's just trying to backtrack on the words that he said. I think he then to us that signals that he accidentally let it slip, that he wasn't really meaning to do that. So I found that interesting. Again, that's just more pictures of the interview. That's another case that's going on. Someone he met playing video games may have taken him. That's again mowing. This is the thing I told you guys yesterday was going to happen. I made a statement yesterday. I said, "Hey, he's going to have to mow that lawn. Check out the lawn. It's getting pretty tall out there. The lawn keeps growing. Honestly, I wish I could have mowed it for him. I know people might think that's crazy, but I just believe in this idea of like honoring people even when you don't respect them in ways, and it's a way to build a relationship with them. And I really wish I could have, as a pastor, sit down and counsel the Laundrie family and pray with them and help them really think through some of these things. So wish I could have mowed the lawn for him. If I think they probably would have called 911 if anybody actually went out there and tried to do that, just to be truthful. But I think it'd be a way to, build relationships with somebody if they would allow it. So anyways, I knew he was going to do that before too long because it was getting out of hand. And there he is out there doing it today. It's funny, like, you never thought something as easy as mowing the lawn would make the news that hundreds of thousands of people have watched you do today. And I know they own their own business and stuff, but it's been a month and they haven't really left their house. I started thinking about the money situation. Like, do they have money flowing in, or are they out of money? And, because they're certainly not generating income, at least from a labor standpoint, unless they're doing it all from their computer. So who really knows? There's a lot that I wish I could unpack with them. I think, though, whenever I was hearing Brian Hinton speak about it, he was saying that Christopher Laundrie seems as if he's approaching some level of a breaking point, or a level where he might snap at some point, which I thought sounded very dangerous to me. Like, we don't want anybody near that point. And so, and he's the one who's out there and can see the look in his eyes that we might not be able to pick up on camera. And so I found that interesting that he made that statement. By the way, I want to thank you, Trucker T, Amber, Michael, Simple Things, and Kelsey, all for joining the Feller fam. And if you haven't done so already, can you hit the like button on the video? That shoots us out into the YouTube algorithm. And I can't believe it. The community that we're building here has just been phenomenal. Just a month ago, I had 3,000 subscribers on YouTube. And because of what you guys are doing, coming around this community, working together to find justice for Gabby, last night I crossed the 30,000 subscriber threshold. It blew my mind, actually. I made a goal last October when I started making YouTube videos in a level of regularity that I would get to 10,000 in a year. And so really it took a year, I think, and I wasn't getting there. And so then when February rolled around, I'm like, well, I'm going to try to make a year goal from February, because I didn't think I'd get there by February, but I got here by February, believe it or not. And you guys really helped me get there. So I appreciate it. What, you mow the lawn? You support these people? No, I don't support these people, but you can serve people without supporting them. You're misinterpreting what I'm saying. What I'm saying is that I think it is a good thing to even honor people before they're in a place of honoring. Like, I think that's an attitude that you have to have sometimes when we talk about the way that we're supposed to live our lives. Mountain Kayaker sends the super sticker. Thank you, Mountain Kayaker, for sending the super sticker, celebrating with me crossing that 30,000 subscriber mark. Thank you so much for doing that. It feels good to have people here that I can celebrate with, and that you guys are excited with me. You're a part of it. It's not my channel, it's all of our channels together, because together we are working towards a goal of helping find justice for Gabby. So that was the big thing that happened in the news. They're outside mowing the lawn. Again, it's kind of crazy to me that all of that made the news. And then the big issue too was that coroner sort of backtracking on some of his statements. There was another sort of report that came out from WFLA today, and so I wanted to digest that with you as well. It was the statement that Gabby's mom made following the coroner's report.
She was strangled by the hands of a killer. Tonight, we know more about the death of Gabby Petito as new facts are revealed from her autopsy. Good evening. I'm Jennifer Lee.
And I'm Josh Benson. Thanks so much for being with us tonight. It is a big night for sports fans here in the Bay Area, with the Stanley Cup champion Tampa Bay Lightning raising the banner and dropping the puck for their new season. And, of course, some shocking sudden fall from grace news for former Bucks head coach John Gruden.
But we're going to start it off with the newest information on the death of Gabby Petito as the Teton County, Wyoming coroner reveals the findings of Gabby's autopsy. Justin Schecker has been covering the story from the very beginning. He joins us live in our Tampa newsroom tonight. Justin.
Josh and Jen, good evening to you both. Gabby Petito's parents received word of how their daughter died before the Wyoming coroner publicly released the cause of her death today. Tonight, a major question has been answered about what happened to 22-year-old Gabby Petito. The Teton County coroner, Dr. Brent Blue, says the cause of her death was manual strangulation or throttling, meaning someone attacked and choked her with their hands.
By Wyoming state statute, only the cause and manner of death are released.
2 days after the discovery of Petito's remains in Wyoming's Bridger-Teton National Forest on September 19th, the FBI announced the manner of her death was homicide.
As far as the time of death, we are estimating 3 to 4 weeks from the time that the body was found.
Police say Petito had not been seen since August 27th. That same day, this video from travel bloggers placed the white van from her cross-country road trip with fiancé Brian Laundrie in the camping area near where authorities found her body. Dr. Blue confirmed law enforcement collected DNA samples. A USF criminology professor tells us
they were a couple and they were living in a van together. So it would be expected that his DNA would be on her.
The attorney for the Laundrie family, Stephen Bertolino, told 8 on Your Side, while Brian Laundrie is currently charged with the unauthorized use of a debit card belonging to Gabby, Brian is only considered a person of interest in relation to Gabby Petito's demise. Gabby's mother, Nicole Schmidt, responded saying his words are garbage. While the coroner has revealed how her daughter died, the FBI is still building its case on who is responsible.
Unfortunately, this is only one of many deaths around the country of people who are involved in domestic violence. And it's unfortunate that these other deaths do not get as much coverage as this one.
And the coroner says Petito's body has been returned to the mortuary in Wyoming. The attorney for her parents says they're not making any more statements until, quote, they bring Gabby home. And Josh, tonight, the search continues for Brian Laundrie, the person of interest in this investigation.
So what do you guys, I put a poll in there. What do you guys think of the statements that Gabby's mom making? Do you agree? She said it's garbage. Do you agree with that statement? It's the right thing to say. I feel like it's a really good thing. It's finally an opportunity for the family to go home and to be able to retrieve her body and to bring it back. I mean, that's something that had to be very difficult waiting. If you've ever been in a situation where you've had somebody in your family pass away, having to wait until you can have a service or a funeral or whatever it is that your family chooses to do is a very difficult, it's a very difficult time of waiting. And so I feel really bad that they've had to wait this long. I hope that they were able to get everything they needed from the different autopsies. Berga Black, thank you for becoming a part of the Feller fam. I want to shout out Michael and Sarah also, who you guys purchased a super sticker along the way. So thank you so much for doing that. Donna, I like your comment. You saying, yeah, I agree with Nicole. His words are garbage. I think it's the timing of the words. There's a lot to it. Sherry in Central Virginia says, I agree 100% with Nicole Schmidt. I think a lot of people are agreeing with Nicole Schmidt. John says this, Tyler, thank you for your amazing channel. You are amazing. I've been with you since day one. I can't wait for your book. John, thank you so much. I'm excited about the book that I have that's coming out called Don't Stop. I really think it's going to bless a lot of people. And thank you for supporting this channel, being with me for day one, liking, subscribing, being a part of our ecosystem ultimately, so we can find justice for Gabby, so we can help find Brian. That's why we are all here. The timing of the issue of what the lawyer said, I think, was a big issue because it's in the middle of the coroner's report. Was it a strategy? Was he feeling pressure from media to respond? And then he went ahead and let it out there. And today I want to focus on too, like, what are the secrets of Brian Laundrie? Where the biggest secret is, where is Brian Laundrie at? That's the biggest secret. Another secret that I think is coming out as we're looking at some of the interviews and reports that are coming out, does he have allies, and who are those allies? It's clear, according to that former FBI agent, that he has some allies, but who are those allies? And there's a lawyer that represents Brian. So her way of saying that was she wouldn't be representing somebody if they weren't alive. So it's, in other words, she's saying, yeah, we know that he's alive because he has a lawyer that says he's representing him. They know roundabout where he's at. Does he have any allies? And then who are those allies? Carson, thank you for the super chat. You say the ringmaster, Roberta and Chris, mow their lawn right after hearing their son strangled Gabby. So disrespectful and disgusting. Makes me furious. Your sentiment is felt by a lot of people. Rita, thank you so much for the super sticker. Really, for your support of the channel. It really means a lot that you guys do that. I'm going to check the poll. If you guys haven't voted in the poll, why don't you guys go ahead and vote in the poll real fast? Just give it a good yes or a no. I'm hoping we can get at least 1,200 votes. Looks like we have about 700 right now. There's 4,000, or there at one time was over 5,000 of you guys watching, and there's only 842 likes on the video. And so if you guys don't mind, hit like on the video. And then vote in the poll. And just as the results are coming in, it's like 95% of you agree with Gabby's mom's statement. And so we couldn't be more clear about that. When we're unpacking some of the secrets of Brian, I think one of those big statements are, does he have allies? Who are his allies? And I think Carson's sort of sentiment that was out there was, well, it's maybe his parents are a part of his ally group. It could be his parents. So something to think about. Robert says this: was the murderers of the two young girls in close contact with Gabby and Brian immediately prior to discovery of the bodies involved? I don't know. Was the murders of Kyla and Crystal in close contact with Gabby and Brian immediately prior to discovery of the bodies involved? So the bodies were not discovered of Kyla and Crystal till the 19th. Brian was in Florida on the 19th. He left the 17th and was there until the 23rd. That's of August. Brian and Gabby were in close contact with the girls definitely before they passed away. For sure, Kylan. We don't know about Crystal, but for sure, Kylan. Tiger says he was reading the book about the three girls that got murdered while camping. Okay. There's a lot to that. And I know I showed you guys this the other night, but there's another thing that I thought was really strange. A series of books that came out. I want to show them to you. If you just go to Amazon.com and search Murders in Moab. It's a series of 3 books that came out by an author of the name John Horton. And so let me just see. The Jackson Hole Mysteries. This is book 3. So maybe we can go to his page. Oh, here they are right here. Murder in Jackson Hole, Murder in the Tetons, Murder in Moab. I found that so strange. I found it so ironic. And when you look at the date that these books were published, they all came out on the same day. They were all released. It was like I think it was the year 2003 that all of these books came out. Yeah, 2013, March 17th, 2013. So it was a long time ago when these books came out. And here's another thing. Here's another little interesting fact about these books. March 17th is Gabby and Brian's anniversary. That's what they had posted online. The date, the anniversary of these books coming out is the anniversary of Brian and Gabby, according to their Instagram. So I know that might not mean anything, but when we talk about all the weird coincidences that begin to, connect together. It's just another one of those facts on top of it. So I thought it's strange enough that the books are about the three places that we know that Gabby and Brian were together in Jackson Hole. That's the last place they were seen in the Tetons. That's where Gabby met her demise. And then in Moab, where Kylan and Crystal lived, and where Gabby and Brian were at, and where Kylan and Crystal were murdered. And it's called Murder in the Tetons, Murder in Moab. So might not mean anything. It probably doesn't mean anything. But what are the chances that these three books would all be connected and share similar topography, geography, and release date with Brian and Gabby? And I know it's like, how could you make sense of it? There's not much to say about it other than those. It's just a weird coincidence. And I'm one of the ones that think about the books that he was reading and think they are impactful in some way. So Karen, thank you for the super chat. You say this: I think there's only one person hiding Brian besides his parents, knowing too many allies and someone could squeal. I think you're probably right. Like at this point too, with as much pressure as there is on it, to me, it would be very difficult for the conversation to be sort of relinquished beyond that group of people, because I think they would have been tracked down at this point. And so I think you're probably right, but I don't know who that person is. And I want to know who that person is. Debbie, thank you for becoming a member today. It means a whole lot that you're joining the Feller fam. And what do you guys think about those books? I didn't get to see your comments because I was on the screen, like scrolling through, so I was unable to see your guys' comments. But what did you guys think about those three books? Thank you, Sima Lint, for the super sticker. It means a whole lot. What currency is that? I don't understand what that symbol is in front of the 12, but thank you so much for becoming or sending that super sticker. It means a whole lot. I thought those three books, somebody was saying deja vu. That's a pretty good statement. Like deja vu, pretty good. It's a pretty good statement. Somebody's saying, wow, very strange. Books are creepy. Somebody's saying, do a poll. Is Brian dead or alive? So let me go see what our current poll is at. Our current poll, over 1,000 votes. Do you agree with Gabby's mom's statements? 95% of you are saying, yeah, you agree. I mean, there's not much there not to agree with. Last time we did a poll about, do you think Brian is alive? That poll was closer to 50% than you think, because he's been out there potentially in the elements for a long time. The police, I watched an interview with a Northport police officer. He indicated that they personally had eyes on Brian when he went into the Carlton Reserve. It's part of the reason why they were searching there for so long. And so I'm asking the question in the chat right now in the poll, do you think Brian's alive? A lot of people are saying at this point, there's no way he's alive. According to that FBI agent, they're saying, well, I think he's alive and I think he has an accomplice. So there's a whole lot to be thinking about when it comes to that. Wendy, talking about the books, says the books are creepy. And if you look at the Lullaby book on Amazon, Brian's picture is there. I could definitely see him being somebody who wants to leave a review about that book on the internet. Connie says this type often returned to the scene, which we know he's returned once because he was picked up hitchhiking. Wouldn't allow the one woman to drive him to the campsite. That's a good point. When we were talking about that situation, it was like we thought he was sort of trying to build an alibi or whatever, but likely based on what we now know, he was returning to the scene of Gabby's body. And that is really disheartening and frightening to think that he would return. Like I don't, it's just, it's possible that he's innocent. I got to say that. It's alleged that he's involved in this, but Southern Gal Jen says, I pray that he's alive so justice can be brought. Let me take a look at the poll. Most of you guys, let's see how many people have voted. Right now, it's almost to 1,000 votes. 90% of you guys are saying, yeah, he's alive. Let's wait and see when it gets to 1,000 votes where we're at. We're at 765 votes right now. So we can get up to 1,000 votes. If you haven't voted, go ahead and vote. When we have 1,000, I think it gives us a clearer picture of a solid number. It's a good polling number. 90% of people, you're saying you think he's alive. I find that so intriguing, so interesting. Yeah, that's higher than I think it was the other day, because there was a report that came out in the news the other day that said that they didn't think he was any longer living. And when we played that and went through that, that's when a lot of you guys were like, "Well, he's not alive anymore." So Treasure Hunter 800 said, "Did you all see his dad was mowing the lawn today? I think he might be nuts also." Yeah, we talked about him mowing the lawn. I think he has to mow the lawn. Somebody said there's an HOA, homeowners association there. There's certain rules you have to follow. And so I think he might have to mow the lawn. But besides that, his lawn was getting pretty tall. I was wondering about the money part of it. Why didn't they just hire a lawn service to come and mow their lawn? That would have been the easy thing, but they haven't been able to work, at least with labor. They might be working from their computers or from their phones, but they haven't been able to work. And so I started to think like, well, maybe they don't have money to have somebody, mow their lawn. Like I didn't know. So very interesting to me. So I'm gonna go ahead and put the link to if you guys want to call in. I'm gonna let you guys call in tonight. If you guys don't mind when you call in, remember, please keep it clean. We're trying to keep a good, wholesome atmosphere here. I know a lot of other channels don't do that, and it's unfortunate. But I want to make sure no cursing when you're on here. Be respectful. Be respectful to me. This is my channel, so don't talk over me. If you're talking about something I don't want you to talk about, respect that. Okay. But I pinned it. I went ahead and repinned a new comment. I pinned the comment with the link to the call, so you guys can get on here. And I'm gonna go ahead and put it on subscriber mode only on the chat, just because the chat, once we get a certain number of people in here, it just starts going so fast that I have a hard time being able to keep up. So I'm putting it on subscribers only mode. So if you're not a subscriber, you should subscribe anyways, because did you know about 90% of people who watch these videos are not subscribers? I don't understand that. And most of them watch the videos before. Tammy says, Brian is alive. I've said before, the only thing he's thinking right now is beard or no beard on back of his hopeful boat. You're probably right, Tammy. He's probably thinking about how is he going to spin out of this? What's coming next? Patty, how are you?
Good. How are you tonight?
I'm doing well. It feels good to hear your voice.
Good to see you.
Yeah.
I just wanted to start the program off with just a heartfelt thing that's been bothering me, and it's from James 5:16. Confess your faults one to another.
Yep.
And I thought it was interesting what you said about helping him mow his lawn. That's just precious. I haven't been there. The Bible does say confess your faults to one another. So I'm confessing I haven't been able to have heartfelt prayer for the Laundries. And I should be more mature than that. And I just want to implore people to try and do that. Let's try to be forgiving and understanding with them as human beings. And I've been very angry with them. I'm not angry that they're not speaking to people or the press. I'm angry that they didn't reach out to the Petitos.
Right.
That they didn't answer the phone. Say, come here to our home. Our home is welcome to you. We want to embrace you. Let's try to work this out together. Let's be friends. Let's be hopeful. Let's try to solve this together. That's what I'm angry about. And I want to ask God to forgive me for that. And the Bible says that you can be angry. I want to tell you, young people, you can be angry. But what does it say, Tyler?
You have righteous anger, right? It says be forgiving too.
Be angry, be for angry, and sin not.
And don't go to bed
angry.
It says that too.
That's what I've been doing. So, guys, you could pray for me, and I'll pray for you as I always do. I pray for you when, after the show's over. I know that there's a redemptive spirit about all of this.
Yep.
That's God's desire for all of us. So I'm kind of serious tonight, and just my heart just goes out to the Laundries tonight. And it's not easy. I need the Holy Spirit to do that.
Yep.
So I just thought of that when I saw that you wanted to help mow their lawn, and
Yeah.
that's precious. And you're a pastor, and I want to be mature in my Christian walk and try to be understanding and forgiving for where they're at. So I
Well,
thank you
Patty,
for letting me say that.
thank you for calling in. We really appreciate you.
Bye-bye.
We love Patty. Sandra says, lawn services refuse to come. I think Brian's father will crack first, but they have a really bad attorney. So I didn't realize that part, Sandra. If a lawn service had refused to come, I understand why they would. Thank you for the super chat. By the way, Sandy says this: the very least the Laundries could have done is said condolences to the Petito family. Yeah, they didn't. I don't understand. There's things they could say that wouldn't implicate them at all. You know what I mean? Like there's things that could have been done and could have been said that were well within the bounds of law or whatever they're trying to evade by not saying anything. Dawn, thanks for calling in. You're a pretty controversial caller around here, so but I like having you.
Well, thanks. I'm just going to start out by saying it personally, it breaks my heart that the family, and this is, I'm talking about the Petito and the Schmidt family, they don't have a choice on how they want to have their daughter's remains taken care of, because of the fact that it's a investigation tool, it's a piece of evidence, as it is. But the fact that the only choice they have right now is cremation. I mean, I realize that there are a lot of people who believe in it, and it's fine. I may choose it myself when I die, but to me, I guess it goes back to, to me, I feel like the mother is not going to get a chance to see the remains. I mean, it may. I'm going to go back to something that happened 30 years ago, back in 1994. A family that I knew lost their daughter. She was a student at University of Alabama, Birmingham, and was heading down to spring break, and she happened to pick up. She said she called her father and says, "I ran out of gas. I've got a couple of guys helping me get gas for my car," and that was the last they heard of her. 6 weeks later, they found her body. She had been tied up. She had been raped. She was, basically skeletonized. And the parents were adamant they wanted to see her body before they brought it back and the condition it was in. And I escorted them down there because I felt like that was my only choice that I could do for them as a friend. But I had to recuse myself from the investigation. It's not something that probably every parent wants, but it seems like to me that that's a choice, that the parents are not going to be able to have, because they're not going to have someplace to memorialize. Now, if they decide to, pour her ashes into the ocean in Long Island, and that's their choice, or pour them into California, which is where she was heading, or Portland, that's their choice. It's just that to me, it's not complete. It doesn't give closure, but I think that it's the only thing that this family can do. And I feel very bad about that because of prior experiences with my friends. They were able to bury her body, but the result, it was never resolved. They never did find out who killed her. And it's very similar that she was just on a trip and somehow got abducted. But I left something online that I wanted you to look at because it was from the it was from WFLA, that there was a prosecutor who claims that he saw the video, the live feed video showing the body of Gabby when it was out in the field. And he says the way the body's position was set up is that there was no way that she knew what happened to her, that someone attacked her from behind, because she was barefoot. There's also reports that she was naked from the waist down. That was something that was never brought up. That was not a question that was asked, and I'm very surprised that it was not, is whether or not she was raped or whether or not she was restrained or tied up. Those were questions that were not asked. And, I don't know if Brian was trying to ask those questions. I know he had real big issues with people hacking his account, which to me is ridiculous. Of course, I thought the whole Zoom presentation was a fiasco. In my opinion, they should have done something better. But it's right now. I think that that prosecutor, she's correct. I think that Laundrie is getting help from Steve Bertolino. I would like to see Steve Bertolino investigated by the New York State Bar for this. He's not registered to practice law in Florida. I've already checked. So I don't know how he can be doing all this stuff unless he's.
I was
doing it
wondering
directly.
about that.
He's not licensed to practice law in Florida.
Somehow is he licensed federally in Wyoming, or how
He's
does that
licensed
work?
in New York State. He's licensed in New York State. And I've made a couple of calls to people who are with the state bar, and they're going to do an investigation. They're not talking about it right now, but they're going to do an investigation on him because he's already. I mean, this is it's putting a bad light to New York lawyers, especially those in Long Island. But he's not licensed to practice law in Florida.
Yeah,
and because
I find that interesting.
You have what is known as residential domicile in Florida. You can't, you have to have some sort of business. You have to have a business down there. You have to have a business
like an
connection
office or whatever. Yeah.
You have to be there for you have to be established for, I think, for at least a year. And then of course you have to pass the Florida bar exam, which is one of the toughest bar exams in the United States, next to New York. They're the two toughest states in the country to pass the bar.
That's crazy. So I guess he's not being charged for anything in Florida. So at this point, it's really a non-issue, but I'm sure that they would get somebody in Florida or Wyoming or wherever to actually handle.
Somebody with deep pockets is paying for this. Somebody with deep pockets. The question is who? If they have him if they have Brian in a motel, which is what I believe they are doing, somewhere in the eastern United States, someone's paying for that. Someone's paying to have a guard to guard him, to make sure he stays in, make sure that there's nobody around snooping around. They may be moving him from place to place. That costs money. The Laundries don't have that. Somebody does. Who?
Why do people think the Laundries have $5 million or whatever?
Well, it all depends. People here in the tri-state area where I live, people complain about taxes being too high, and they think how great Florida is, how great Georgia is, how great South Carolina, North Carolina is, Alabama, and they go down there, and then they realize it's not so good. Okay, I mean, Florida's a mess. But I mean, it's a great place to retire, I guess, and because you have the place like the Villages down there near Orlando, which is really a mess. But I think that as far as I'm concerned, somebody with deep pockets is paying for this, and that's going to be coming out. That's got to.
As it became high profile, I'm certain people are going to try to do whatever they can. Like everybody knows there's such interest. People spin this off into TVs and books and whatever. And it's like, whoever was the first to make it. I'm not saying that this is what's happening, but I'm saying that this sounds totally possible. Whoever has the deep pockets, like a industry or a corporation that wants a percentage of the rights to whatever happens in the future, might be willing to risk it.
Let me tell you something. That's the only reason why I think he's sticking around, because he knows that if he may not be a lawyer much longer, but that doesn't mean if he can sell a book, I can guarantee you, I'm sure that there's some producer TV people looking at this saying, well, this is going to be a big Lifetime movie. This is going to be a big Discovery TV, Discovery ID. It's going to be definitely something you'll find on Dateline. Okay. Right. But it's going to be a while, because this case is either the FBI is going to have to make a move on making him an official fugitive. He may be armed. No one seems to talk about that. That he may have access to a firearm. All right. But they definitely need to. They definitely need to get that attorney, pull him aside, get him in, and maybe let a couple of CIA operatives work them over. I'm not saying that would happen. I'm not saying that should happen. But hey, listen, I know a few of them. They've been
if the U.S. Marshals called and asked to tap you back in, would you unretire yourself?
No. I've got a private practice. I've got a private practice, and that I'm very, very happy with what I'm doing.
Do they ever contract out?
I gave up the government 7 years ago. So I'm in private practice. I will not go back. Mainly because the administration, and I'm talking going all the way back to the Bush years, and I'm going back to Bush 41, has put the FBI and marshals in such bad light. Budget cuts, disrespect. Bush 43, gave us a little bit, with putting us into Homeland Security, couldn't putting us on board planes. But both Obama and Trump basically said that the FBI sucks and the marshals suck. So, why should we be working hard? I gave that up. I said, you know what, I'm not going to do that.
It was challenging. It was challenging times whenever everything was going on with the election, and it involved definitely FBI involvement. But I don't want to talk about the politics too much because that's so.
And I'm not going to. I gave you my point of view because you asked me a question, and
let me ask you another question. When we talk about what secrets Brian Laundrie could possibly have, what are some of those questions? Another question that I don't think we've talked about, but does he have a mental health diagnosis? That's another secret that I want to ask. What are some of those other secrets?
Let me tell you something. And I posted something like this. One of his buddies from high school was on one of these video shows like yours. I don't remember what it was. It was a couple of nights ago. And people are going to start talking. All right, you're going to start seeing this now. But that he was a wackadoo in high school. That he was always getting called in. That they had referrals all the time. I mean, that's something that would have to come out, and the public schools in that area would have to open that up and talk about it. They're going to use their Privacy Act and all that type of stuff. But if he may have shown some antisocial behaviors when he was in high school or even in middle school. That's where these things start, is usually in the middle school years.
I had somebody who's close to the family. They don't want me to use their name, but they've been emailing me information, and I checked them out. They're legit. They're a legitimate source. They told me that Brian Laundrie had made a bomb threat to his high school.
Well, you see? And then was he prosecuted? No.
I don't know that.
No, he wasn't. He probably wasn't prosecuted. It was probably they determined it was a fake, or he wasn't able to do it, and he sat down there and it's same thing with gun. Some kid going in and shooting up a bunch of kids at Sandy Hook. It's always too late when things happen. They apparently caught it. Maybe they said, "All right, fine, he's okay now. We're going to dismiss it because he was underage. He was a minor."
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
But my question is, why would the Petitos and the Schmitz allow their daughter to date this guy?
Yeah.
Did she have boyfriends? I mean, you got to start looking what made her drive herself to go with this guy. When there were a lot of guys that would talk about how pretty she was, and they all wanted to date her. And of course, the father talks about how he hated his boyfriends. But there had to be some guys that were decent that would have made fantastic, boyfriends and possible mates for her. I don't know, I guess maybe he was an outsider and he was a bad boy. And some of these, and I don't think she was that sophisticated in the dating world, in the social life, because she seemed to move around a lot. She was starting in. Why would she leave?
She was really young.
Why would she leave?
Too.
Why would she leave her cozy confines in New York State and go to Wilmington, North Carolina, of all places, and then later Savannah, and then eventually to Florida?
Yeah, I don't know. She was young, and she wanted to spread her wings. Like a lot of people move off when they turn that age and try to find out who they are. So I mean, I don't. She did date other people because her dad alluded to it, Everybody, he said everyone she's dated. So he alluded that there were other people she was in relationships with. I wouldn't be surprised if she moved to North Carolina to date somebody. I don't know that as a
Well,
fact.
apparently she went down there to apply for a mission into University of North Carolina at Wilmington. She was accepted at Long Island University. That I found out. But she apparently didn't go. And then she looked at going into one of the junior colleges in Long Island and didn't go there. But she went in down there to work on an art class, but that apparently didn't pan out. And then she was going to go to Cape Fear Community College, but she didn't go there either. And then she went down to Savannah to try to get into SCAD. That's the Savannah College of Art and Design, which is apparently where she ran into Laundrie down there because he was trying to get in too.
And then they reconnected because they'd known each other from high school.
Yeah. And of course, there's reports that he beat her and slapped her around even during when they're dating days. I guess she did a good job of hiding that from her father.
Yeah. Seemed like she didn't.
I doubt Joe Petito would have put up with that about maybe 5 seconds.
Well, Don, thank you for calling in.
Yeah,
Don.
thank you. No problem.
Appreciate when Don calls in. He has a unique perspective, a unique way to look at things. So give him some grace in the comments, guys. It's okay to have people who have a different perspective. Julie, thank you for the super sticker. Sylvia, I saw your comment about the prayer, and thank you for sending the super chat and mentioning that your husband was praying. Monica, you say, yes, she seemed like a free spirit. That's sort of what I was thinking about her. She had she had an adventurous attitude or air about her, and so she wanted to go on some adventures. And so I found that really interesting. Diane, how are you?
I'm doing well. How are you, Tyler?
I'm doing well. Thank you for calling in today. How are things going?
Doing okay. I left the chat after about an hour and 45 minutes last night. It was really hard.
Mm-hmm.
And I think the main reason is, this is probably going to upset some people, but I started thinking about Gabby. People always say she's in a better place or she's an angel watching over us. And the truth is that we don't know.
Mm-hmm.
And there's no implication of the family being involved in any church or any affiliation with a denomination. And I would just hate to think that she went from his hands to eternity without Jesus.
Yeah.
So that really bothered me so much that I shut it down and decided to spend some time praying instead.
No, well, that was a good move, Diane. It's always like anybody, doesn't matter who it is. I thought about Saddam Hussein. Like any person in the entire world, I want an opportunity to share the gospel with them, because some people may not understand it in the comments like you're saying, but that's the way we view the world. And we don't choose we personally don't pick how we view the world. We allow the Bible to do that for us. What did you think about the comments that the coroner made yesterday?
Well, I think he slipped up. But then I was watching a news channel today that had the forensic specialist who was in the OJ trial. And he's a retired older fella. And he described throttling and how, he said at least with strangulation that Gabby was probably unconscious within about 5 seconds, and it was almost like a sleep. So, it wasn't a prolonged, it took maybe 8 minutes for her to die, but she was not conscious for a long time. That kind of gave me some peace. But he talked about the thumbs. So I disagree with Don. This gentleman that's his specialty. He says that, the thumbs break the hyoid bone, crush the esophagus, and damage the muscles in the neck. And that's what they were looking for.
Mm-hmm.
And that's what really when they say throttle, that's a manual. Can you imagine the anger looking in her eyes and hating her so much over probably, I think he became angry because she didn't defend him in the restaurant. She went back and apologized.
Yeah.
And it was like, how dare you, you should stand up for me kind of a thing. And he just snapped. But
it's heartbreaking.
It really is. And, I pray for her family and I hope that something good comes out of this. I remember when our daughter was in like 15, 16, that one of her friends who had just gotten her license was out with some other kids on a Saturday morning, and a drunk woman who had drank a bottle of Listerine because she had run out of alcohol hit them and killed several of them. And we went to the funeral, and the mother said, "Well, she's in heaven now because she was so nice." And it just broke my heart thinking that I never asked the kid, and it's hard, it's you have to develop a hard shell if you're going to evangelize, because a lot of people are going to laugh at you, turn you away, or call you names and stuff. But if you do it in love and just tell them, I care about you, and I want to make sure that if something were to ever happen to you, that you're right with the Lord. So I've learned to witness to all different age groups, because I don't want to ever leave this world and think that I should have done this or I should have done that. So
absolutely,
yeah.
Diane.
So it was very painful to think of how she died and to not know that if she's in heaven or not. I wish I knew, but only the Lord knows. I know that. So
I'm glad that the family has an opportunity to retrieve the body, and hopefully they can start on a grieving process. And I'm praying for them. And who knows, maybe the Lord one day will be able to give me an opportunity to pray with them personally and to speak with them personally.
And what you said about the Laundries, I agree, because Jesus died for everyone.
Yeah.
Not just the nice people with big smiles. So
Yep. Thank you, Diane, for calling in today.
Thank you, Tyler. I'm still praying for your heart.
Thank you. Okay. Thank you. Have a good evening.
Thank you. I will.
Karen, I saw your super chat. Thank you for the super chat, and thank you for the support. I did get an email from you. I haven't had time. That video was like 10 minutes long, so I'm on a stream, so I don't have time to I'll be on a stream talking to people and also watch a video, but I'll watch it as soon as I can. It was about a Navy SEAL, talking about Brian. So when I have an opportunity, I'll definitely check it out. Rebecca, how are you?
Hello, Tyler. How are you?
I'm doing well. Thank you for calling in. So what are your thoughts about everything today?
Yeah, so my main thought is, and I know you've mentioned in the past, just kind of what should you cover after this and once this sort of dies down. And one thing I have been just really having on my mind, and one of the reasons why I've just resonated so much with this case, is just the whole topic of narcissistic abuse. And particularly from you, I've really loved to hear you share thoughts on what does the gospel say about how to handle a person who is dishing out narcissistic abuse to you, and because I feel like there is this phenomenon where nice people, nice families like Gabby's family, you almost grow up so oblivious and so naive and so you can't even believe that people like that exist in the world. And then you run into one and you're so confused and you're so bewildered and you're so blindsided, and the rug ripped out from under you, and you just don't know how to handle it. And so I would just really throw that out there as something that I feel like a lot of people would benefit from, just having more resources on how to assess that, how to recognize it when it's happening, how to get out of it when you're in the middle of it, and so forth.
Well, the best resource on that particular topic comes from a friend of mine. His name is Mike Signorelli. I'll show you just how to get to his video. If you just type in Mike Signorelli narcissism on YouTube, it will pop up, and he has some videos on there on how to deal with narcissism, getting free from a narcissist. My spouse is a narcissist, and he approaches it all. He's a pastor, in fact, in New York City of one of the largest and fastest growing churches in America. He just does a really great job talking about that from that lens. So that's just type in those things and it will pop up.
Yeah,
and
cool.
On top of all of that, it's like there are all of us from a faith lens or even not from a faith lens. We've been protected in some ways, and some of us haven't been protected at all. And those of us who haven't been protected at all have a propensity to be drawn into the way that we received love as a child or whatever. And we end up in narcissistic relationships because of that. And then others of us that were really, really well protected, like you're saying, is completely oblivious. And then a little bit down the road, we start feeling these sort of red flags and things inside of us. But because we are optimistic and have hope, we give people the benefit of the doubt, and then we continue to ignore the red flags, and then it's too late. And so one of the things that I've been saying again and again and again on the stream is like, I hope if there's anybody listening, if there's something you can personally learn from this, it's that if you find yourself in a relationship that has some red flags, listen to those. Life is too short. Don't you think, Rebecca? Life is too short.
Yeah, it really is. And I think that trust, in my observation, when you trust a person, it causes you to overlook the red flags for a really long time. And then finally, trust is broken. And then you're like, oh, I've been seeing these red flags all along, and there's a mountain of them, but I ignored them because I trusted the person. And
Love is blind. Yeah.
Yeah. Finally, the trust is broken. And you're like, oh, what have I been ignoring all this time? Like, I did see it all along, but I was just sort of in a fog. And so it's just really interesting how that can work.
Mary sent a super chat. And it goes along with what you're saying. She said, do you guys suspect that maybe she was very insecure and he's who she felt safe with since she'd known him? And maybe her parents couldn't convince her not to. I think that, I mean, I'm not saying that's for sure what happened, Mary, but you're on the right track, probably. I think that there's definitely aspects of, for whatever reason, there's things about him that she felt very safe with despite whatever. And there was a level of insecurity possibly there. I know a lot of people, not just females, men and women, a lot of them are very insecure. And so if you can get somebody that offsets whatever you're most insecure about, even if there's a lot of red flags, you run to that. So if you don't feel like you're beautiful, but you're dating somebody who makes you feel like you're the most beautiful person, even though they treat you bad in 17 other ways, as they're offsetting your deepest insecurity, a lot of times you run to that. And I'm not saying that's what happened with her, but what do you think, Rebecca?
Yeah, it's very possible. And I feel like that there's almost like that skill of the narcissist to know how to like tap into those things and identify the things that kind of get you to take the bait. And that is sort of the way that you get manipulated, because they do sort of like give you the exact bait that fills the little hole in your soul that you were hungry for. And it's crazy how that can work, and how that kind of narcissistic codependent thing, like it just matches perfectly. They find, it's like you almost feel like they're so good at honing in on those people with the vulnerabilities that will give them that access and control.
It's like they have an eye for it, right? It's called an empath. So like there's people who are empaths who basically are narcissistic suppliers. It's how they know how to operate. And narcissists know how to like weed out whoever else isn't one of those, and they get with an empath. And then that becomes their supply, and they love bomb them and do whatever it takes. It's a weird world that we live in, but it's exactly how it happens. So thank you, Rebecca.
It's not true love. It's not the essence of really how we ought to be loved. It's not genuine love when you're being love bombed and, treated like that. So yeah, anyway, thank you, Tyler, for all that you do.
Yeah. Thank you for calling in. 2021A Starbase Odyssey says Brian hit, kick, and punched that night. Gabby threatened to report him or break up. That's my theory. Okay. Thank you for sharing your theory. Roma says, and thank you for the super chat too. Roma says people confuse forgiveness with acceptance instead of loving their self enough to leave. They give more chances. That's true. I mean, we need people that are understanding their identity and who they are and their value. Come on, you have value. We're not saying Gabby was narcissistic. We're saying that Brian was narcissistic, and we're not even saying that he's for sure narcissistic. We're saying possibly he could be narcissistic, and if so, here's a theory that we build that out. Diane, thank you for the super sticker. It means a lot. The coroner made a statement, said it was a domestic situation, so there's parts of it that sort of lean us into thinking that that's likely what happened. And Pied Piper says, I'm an empath and I attract narcissists like flies. I'm sorry. I'm sorry for that. And it's good that you know that. I'm just saying, it's good that you know that, because self-awareness a lot of times is the first step. Sometimes people don't have that level of self-awareness. Once you're able to garner that self-awareness inside of you, then what ends up happening is your people picker begins to change. You might date a grandiose narcissist, and then the next time around you decide not to date one of them, and you date a covert narcissist because they tricked you in any way, and you learn from that. So it's good that we're learning about each other tonight. Amy, thanks for calling in. How are you?
Hi, can you hear me, Tyler? My earbuds were making some weird noises. But firstly, I'll make it quick because I'm not I don't want to be long-winded with a lot of people waiting. Firstly, I think that the Laundries do have money and that they're hiding it. And because I look at the totality of what's been going on and the use of this type of an attorney, I really believe that they may be hiding money and that they could afford to do whatever they want. I just believe their laundries are money launderers, and they seem very shady. I believe that they may be hiding assets and they've probably been hiding assets over all of these years to be able to do what they've done and to be able to possibly get their son out of all of the binds that he's been in over these past years, and has never taken responsibility, or they've never let him take responsibility for his actions. And the other thing that was crazy, what I noted when the father was, mowing the lawn to sort of rub it in their faces after the autopsy results were read yesterday, that he was wearing open-toe shoes. Now, did you notice that? That is unbelievable. Who would wear open-toed shoes when you're mowing a lawn to get your foot chopped off? It's just, he's just trolling the media like mad. I just think it was heartless and soulless of them to do that and to just go on like nothing even had occurred yesterday. Just unbelievable, Tyler. And then the last thing, we were talking about the people that they don't realize they're being abused. I remember watching this lecture from Maya Angelou, and she said that what they do is they blow these abusers will blow anesthetize, and how to blow some anesthetic agent on you emotionally. So it's called blow, bite, and blow. So they do something where they blow something on you like this, the words, then they'll take a bite out of you with an action or a comment, then they'll quickly go back to anesthetize you again. So this might have been going on with Gabby over these years, and she never realized what was going on. And it was a slow approximation, like these girls get into these relationships because it's like a boiling pot frog. It's like boiling frog in a pot. A frog's not going to jump into boiling hot water, get the temperature.
Yeah. Thank you, Amy, for calling in. Appreciate your observations. I didn't realize he was mowing the lawn in flip-flops, but thank you for calling in.
Thanks. Bye.
I don't know about Florida, but I know in Arkansas, my friends in Arkansas, they wear flip-flops year-round. So I don't know how they mow their lawn. I wouldn't be surprised if they're in flip-flops. So Molly says, I'm in Arizona. There's only open-toed shoes. 2021 Starbase, thank you for your super chat. You said she was super insecure, according to Rose. And so it's a good observation to make that she made that. And, I don't know. I feel like a lot of people are super insecure. Jonique, how are you?
Hi, Tyler. How are you doing tonight?
I'm doing all right. So what are you thinking about everything today?
Well, first of all, I wanted to apologize for not getting on last night.
It's all right.
I had a mental breakdown last night, and I'll explain why. After hearing the results and hearing that she was strangled, I had a PTSD flashback from when I was a child. I woke up early morning to my mom on the floor being strangled by my father. So it was a flashback that I was not expecting to have. So that's one of the reasons why I kind of took a breather from it last night.
Well, I understand that, Jonique, and I'm sorry that you had one of those flashbacks. I mean, it's terrible, and certainly this case is doing that for a lot of people, I think, and I'm sorry that you had to deal with that.
It's not your fault. I knew what I was getting into when I invested in this case. I knew what attracted me to it. I knew there was a reason why. I just was not expecting to hear that part. I was hoping maybe something else, not strangulation.
Yeah.
And I don't know. I think my brother said it better in his book when he wrote his. It's called Blessings and Demons. And there's a page in there called 435. And it basically goes through that whole morning and that whole day. And believe me, when I first read the book, I couldn't get past it for like the first week. It was really bad.
Wow.
But my thoughts on everything right now is just mind blowing. My heart goes out to the Smith family and the Petito family, of course.
Mm-hmm.
But I have a question because I don't know. I guess I'm a true crime junkie. So I would be interested to know like how far gone was her body when they found her. I mean, because if she was strangled, as they say, and in the manner that she was, with the whole throttling, you would think there'd be some type of handprint around her throat. And I feel like that could be why they took so long to release it. And what do you think?
Well, I think that's certainly a possibility, and I think it'd be really hard to tell, though. And maybe exactly what you're talking about is the reason why they were able to label it what they did label it. Is it because many times when the coroner was asked, he basically was like, well, I mean, it'd been like 3-4 weeks. Of course, the body's been sent through the ringer,
Right.
So,
I mean, especially with the elements as well. I mean, I'm quite sure her body was through the ringer. I would just be curious to know if there was some type of impression of a handprint, a thumbprint, or something that maybe they could have pulled some type of I know what I'm trying to say.
like forensics.
Yes.
Yeah. I
That's
don't
what I'm
I
thinking.
know that one time I was overseeing a church in another city, and I didn't have it had closed down, and they had sort of given it to me to try to do something with, and it was like an hour away, and so I was overseeing it. Somebody broke in and had stolen a bunch of stuff, so I had to call a detective in, and whenever he came in, he's like, fingerprints are not good after 48 hours. He's like, we can't pull anything after 48 hours. So I don't know if that works on bodies as it does like in the church, but we went through and tried to find fingerprints, and I was helping him pull. He taught me how to do it. I was like literally with a little detective kit. And so I don't know if even that long, if there was anything that you could maybe figure out hand size, and it sucks to even, it's hard for me even to say that because I don't even want to think about it at that leap.
Right. I don't want to think about it at that level either. But now that we know how she died, I can't help but wonder.
Yeah, I know. Well, Joni, thank you for putting that thought out there. It's something for us to think about, and I'm sorry for everything that you have to go through. And I'll be praying for you. And I appreciate you liking the channel and supporting what we do here.
Thank you, Tyler. I don't know what it is. For some reason, I feel drawn to your channel. I don't know why. I'm completely drawn to it.
Well, I appreciate the support. Thank you.
You're welcome, Tyler. You have a good night.
Have a good evening. Cheryl said, make sure we're not judging Gabby, just to put that out there. I don't necessarily feel like we are. We're in a standpoint where we're just trying to figure out what could possibly happen. And people are just trying to make sense of it. And so if it comes out that way, it's not intended to be coming out that way. And so sorry, Cheryl, if you felt like it did. I think people are trying to be careful with it, but also they're just trying to rationalize something in their mind. And so they're just throwing all kinds of different ideas out there. Sherry says Brian killed her on the 27th to prevent her from Rose's birthday in Yosemite. Brian's Instagram obsession with the dark side, describing he'd like to see blood gushing out of the neck on his cartoon. Those are two separate ideas that we know that he was jealous of Gabby's relationship with Rose. So I see where you got to on that. The artwork to me was disturbing. So I can see how you ended up there as well. So thank you, Sherry. Shamangarl, for your support and for your super chat. It means a whole lot. I'm going to add Kayla to the call. Kayla, how are you?
I'm good, Tyler. How are you doing?
I'm doing well. Thank you for calling in.
Thank you. I just wanted to say my heart goes out to everybody that's been, triggered or personally affected by this case. I think we all have in some capacity, and it's been really hard for everybody. So I keep everybody in my thoughts that has been really struggling with it, including their family, of course. But
Yeah, thank you for saying that.
yeah, and to touch on, what the last caller said and some other people that have called in is, no, we're not trying to judge Gabby, but I think if we can take anything away from this is just to gain a little bit more perspective and knowledge, learn lessons from all life experiences. And I think for this particular one, I can speak for myself to say that I've learned a lot of lessons in setting boundaries. And I think a lot of people think of boundaries as a negative thing, whether it be with partners or friends or family. And sometimes when we have a lack of boundaries, there are people that take advantage of that, and they want to invade your boundaries, and not setting healthy boundaries can lead to certain things and people getting taken advantage of or manipulated or, all sorts of different things. And so I think that is
Without a
something
doubt.
that we can learn from it, because it's really good for everybody to have strong, to set their own boundaries on what they feel is healthy or not. And then another thing is, did the whole, her meeting up with somebody on the 29th or was supposed to meet up with Rose, did that just get completely thrown out? I mean, was that just dissolved, or did they ever look into like anything like that or did that get thrown out? Because I know that they talked about that, but then it kind of dropped off the map. So I don't really remember if that just was let go or not.
I don't know why Rose didn't make that the statement she said was she kept waiting and waiting and waiting to hear from them and never did. And so she never went on the trip.
Right. But I'm just curious. And I know that they don't have phone records. And so that just kind of leaves everybody hanging. But I'm just wondering, was she trying to contact her? And I know she never spoke upon that. But I mean, did she try to call her or reach out to her and say, hey, are we meeting up? I just thought that's just really interesting how it just kind of went to nothing, especially because Rose has spoken out,
Yeah, I would assume she was having some conversations with her friends, but I don't know what those were. So
yeah, but I was just, and then the last thing is, I just wonder if, do you really think that him kind of touching on domestic violence would look badly for the prosecution in any way, or do you think that is not that big of a deal?
It could have messed up things in trial. I don't know. It could have. I didn't think about it from that angle, but you said that last night, and I was like, well, that's a possibility. So
I just think that they might be looking at that as like a misinformation or speculation. So,
yeah.
Anyway, well, that's just my thoughts. But
thanks,
keep up the
Kayla.
good work, guys. Thank you. Bye.
Tiffany sends the super chat. She says, different perspective. Knows Brian is watching. Dad's pleading for him to come on in. Mom running the operation. He wanted to show no peace. Thank you, Tiffany, for the super chat. It's definitely something I haven't thought about before, but I think a lot of people think the mom's running the show. Archer says this: I believe Gabby may have told Brian that she wanted out of the relationship. and he couldn't accept it. Archer, that's becoming a more prevailing thought or theme that's beginning to emerge. A lot of people are saying that, like, because the reason why I think is because Nancy Grace made the statement on her show that says these types of situations happen at the when closest fatal instances in domestic violence relationship happen when one partner tries to leave and doesn't do it in the right way, or I don't know. So Nancy Grace is the one who started that. People are latching onto it and seeing it as a possibility. Roma says this: I didn't think Gabby was a narcissist. I believe Brian was. Exactly. If I accidentally said it the other way around, sometimes it's hard because we're saying so many names. The case we were trying to make was Brian was a narcissist, most likely, maybe a covert narcissist. She was an empath or whatever, and she forgave him, thinking that he would change. Totally true. I think that I'm not saying it's totally true. I'm saying totally possibly true. I hate that I have to preface every statement like that, Gavis.
I know.
It's like at this point, people should understand the heart behind like what we're trying to do here.
I know. I think he's more of a master manipulator. I mean, look at how well he handled these cops here.
I know, but that's what a narcissist does. Like narcissist / master manipulator. A narcissist is just one step away from a sociopath.
And look at how pretty Gabby is. And I mean, he's with her. I mean, no one really believes that Gabby went that low.
Mike, how are you?
Hey, good evening, Tyler and Gavis. How are you gentlemen doing?
Just great. Glad to hear from you. What are your thoughts today?
Well, was it Gavis or you that was saying something about Brian and Gabby, if I quote this right, were vegan?
Well, they were working towards a vegan lifestyle. And so I think Brian was a little further along, but we know at times they ate like salmon. A lot of people that are vegetarian will occasionally still eat fish. So I don't know. They weren't like full vegans. I think they were working towards it.
Well, it's been a few days or so ago, maybe even a week. But I remember Mr. Gavis saying something about in Costa Rica, and there's some kind of like a vegan like farm or plantation or something where, you know, they'll house you and feed you, basically, you know, get the whole 9 yards.
Yeah, it's called woofer. It's one of the things he mentioned in the back of the van to the police officers.
I just think that they're checking in the wrong places, being on that was it Fort DeSoto or whatever you know, area. I mean, if the cartels can get drugs and stuff of that nature, I didn't mean to say drugs, but if they can make it across the Caribbean and the Gulf of Mexico in a flash, why couldn't they get somebody with some money and connections, get Brian across the Gulf of Mexico, say, for example, to Costa Rica?
Yeah, we had our team today. We put together and reached out to the Woofer organization, to the head office, and we put together like a wanted poster with a bunch of profile pictures of Brian, and we're going to try to get that out to every single host in the world.
Wonderful, wonderful. Me and my fiance were talking about and stuff, and if he went to Mexico, I would think that the drug cartels would want to capture him. You know, white boy coming out of nowhere, don't speak a lick of Spanish that I know of. They would want to turn him over to the U.S. authorities for the award, since they're so money hungry.
Yeah, it's just they're money hungry everywhere in countries where there's not a great economy, and Americans or a lot of people in North America don't realize how blessed we are financially. The people that are some of the poorest in our society don't even realize how much the Lord has actually blessed us. If you make $45,000 a year, you're in the top 2% of the world. And
well, I got a 22-year-old son, and you know, if he had done something as horrific as something like this to a girl that was going to be his future wife, I'll tell you this much. I wouldn't be acting like Chris, and I don't know his wife's name, but I wouldn't be acting the way the Laundries are acting right now.
For sure.
That totally disgusts me.
Me too.
That's not what God put us on earth for.
No,
I mean,
it breaks a lot of people's hearts the way that they
somebody
just perception.
Yeah, somebody that could be your future daughter-in-law, is missing, and they act like, well, hey, let's go camping. It's no big deal. I just don't get it.
Don't think many people do.
Yeah. And this has been driving me nuts. This is totally a 360, but this is for Tyler. I've been staring at your microphone for the past week or so. Is that a Yeti?
Yeah.
That's what I'm talking on.
Yep.
I was just curious. Didn't mean to change the subject, sir. I was
Well,
just curious because I've been thinking about starting up a YouTube channel, and I like to maybe email you sometime on how
Sure.
you got yours set up.
Sure. Actually, I have another mic. I want to switch to this mic, but you have to have a separate component to buy to go on the computer. It's a better mic, but it's kind of expensive for the component. So I'm waiting till I have enough money to buy that. It's
Okay, I got the Yeti Blue is what I got.
Yeah, that's what this is. So anyways,
Okay.
Mike, we can talk about this later. Thanks for calling in.
Yeah, all right. See you guys.
I want to start using that other microphone because it's better, but you have to have a component because it's not a USB mic. So you got to have like a separate thing. 2021 Starbase Odyssey said being in a DV relationship's hard to get out of it. Yeah, absolutely. And Dr. Phil's wife, Robin, came out with an app that's an undercover app. I think it's called Aspire News app or something like that. But it helps people in those types of relationships get out of them. And it does it like in a covert way where it doesn't cause disturbances. Trisha says abuse is a chain, learned behavior. He was either abused himself or witnessed abuse.
Yeah, I think it's a family chain and it has to be broken at some point for sure.
Generational curse is the language I use. Tiffany says this: I am heading up to the mountains this weekend of North Georgia. I'm dropping off posters at the campgrounds. That's good, Tiffany. I think.
Be safe, Tiffany.
Be safe when you do that. And I'll say, if you happen to go to Dalstonville, there's a great church there you should go to called Christ Fellowship Dalstonville. Another from 2021. Thank you so much, Starbase, for sending that. Brian has 0 chance of survival without help.
I agree. I think he's getting lots of help.
It's another to avoid people and cameras. Cannot do it without help.
Yeah, I definitely think he's getting help from someone with money. And I don't think his parents have money, so I'm not sure who that leaves.
I don't know. People keep saying their parents have money. I'm like, I don't know if they do or not. There's no proof one way or the other. Their house isn't a very expensive house. That doesn't mean much to me.
Well, even the real estate that they were flipping in Northport, I mean, those were just little condominiums. They weren't like massive houses that they were ripping out the backyard, putting in a pool and increasing the value. Those were like just little sheriff sales and bankruptcy things.
Judy, how are you?
I'm doing fine. How are you guys doing?
Doing well. Thanks for calling in.
Well, the reason I'm calling in, I'm very upset that people are so morbid that they are creating all of these things and seeing her body and talking about it. It breaks my heart.
Mm-hmm.
I don't understand why they want to do that. Isn't it bad enough that he left her out there and killed her?
Yeah.
I don't know. I don't normally call. In fact, I watch you on TV, so I can't do this. I had to get my phone out and do this.
Well, I think, Judy, people's minds work differently. My mind's more analytical than it is emotional. And so a lot of times my brain will start thinking about the logistics of something before I think about the emotional aspects to things. And I have to train myself to respond emotionally first a lot of times, because otherwise I end up forgetting that I'm about that until after I've processed the logical side. It's just the way people's brains are. And in this situation, for me, the emotional side of it's so heavy, it's like impossible not to get to that point. But also, there could be other people out there that are just like upset that there's not a formal homicide charge against Brian, that they're thinking through that different angles to try to make sure that he ends up getting that charge. That's the only way it makes sense out of my mind.
Oh, he will get that charge. They're just not doing it yet because it's not time. He'll get it.
I mean, I hope so.
And get him. I'm sorry.
So.
I didn't say that. But I watch CSI and all of those. I love murder mysteries and started out with Angela Lansbury but this is so much personal, and I think of her family to be hearing all of this, and it's hard.
I think you could hear it in Nicole's voice today. She was angry, and then imagine those parents having to go pick up the body in the next few days and cremate it. They're going to be even madder after that.
Oh, they will. And people need to lay off the stuff right now about how she died and was her body ate up by bugs, and people took pictures of the body that wasn't supposed to do that. And I don't believe that's true. I really don't. I hope it's not true, because people will publish anything on YouTube.
Mm-hmm.
And I shouldn't say anything because I gave up cable and I only watch YouTube. So
Me too.
That's good.
I gave up. I don't have anything like that. So, Jess, thank you for the super chat. They say they have Brian. That's why they released the autopsy. FBI is keeping it quiet because there's lots of questions the public's going to ask. They don't have the answers to. So thank you, Jazz, for that. I think that's true. What do you think about that, Judy? They're keeping it quiet because there's a lot of questions that the public's going to start to ask.
That is why they're keeping it quiet, is because they don't want it published yet. And people just ask too many personal questions. I was so disappointed in the reporters yesterday at that conference when he said he couldn't talk about. They just kept drilling him and drilling him and drilling him.
Mm-hmm.
And that was wrong.
But that one reporter got something out of him that we wanted to hear, and then he had to go backtrack it today. So it wasn't all bad, Judy. But when you have a press conference, that's part of it, is opening up for questions. And he knew that if he didn't want to do that, he didn't have to call a press conference.
Well, I don't think he's necessarily only talking about her. I think he's talking about all the women that are abused and all the men that are abused by their spouses. And it's a pandemic right now. It really is.
Well, that's why they say America is the 10th worst crime rate in the world because of the domestic violence. Thank you, Judy, for calling in.
Bet. Have a great night.
Robert sends in the super chat and says, "What's up with the Mustang and the 5 days before they can ticket it for abandonment charges timeline?" I don't know if the law is actually 5 days in Florida at a Carlton Reserve or not. Like, I don't know for sure. Is that what the law is there? You have to have a car parked there 5 days before they can. Usually when the car's abandoned, they'll put a sticker on it. And then once the sticker's on it, you'll have how much ever time to get it, right?
Right. So it has to be there for 5 days. They put the sticker on it, but then you also have 5 days afterwards before they could take possession of it. And they send you an email or a letter mail at the same time. So any good lawyer would have known that little trick.
So Kim says, yeah, that's what they said. So I know, like, if a car's parked on the side of the road or whatever, like, they will put a sticker on it before anything, and maybe a warning or whatever. But I would think too, like, some of it is officer's discretion. Like, if it's being an obstruction, if it's there after hours, like, I would say there's all kinds of rules. There's like a no parking after, like, I'm sure there's all kinds of different rules, especially in government land, it probably changes it up a little bit differently.
Yeah, if it's parked along a roadway and it's blocking, they're going to remove it, right?
The big thing I wanted to talk about today, Gavis, was what secrets does Brian Laundrie have? The secrets of Brian Laundrie. The big secret to me, obviously, right now, the biggest secret is where is he? Another one is, does he have allies, and who are those allies? Does he have a mental health diagnosis? What are some other secrets of Brian Laundrie that we need to start wading through to help find him?
One thing, somebody brought up in Discord today an interesting angle, and in The Silence of the Lambs, he teaches Clarice how to catch the Buffalo Bill or whatever, and he says, go after what he covets. And what would Brian Laundrie covet? He would covet living in the middle of nowhere with no electricity, no internet, no phones, no nothing. That's what he would covet. So then the only other person would be the lawyer. What would the lawyer covet? The lawyer would covet winning this case at all costs, basically. So that's kind of where my head's been going the last day.
So this is a secret that I'm just guessing based off what you said, that we don't know the answer to. And everything's speculation. But how deep is the relationship between Stephen Bertolino and the Laundrie family? We don't know for sure. There's no facts around that, but I want to know, how deep is the Bertolino-Laundrie relationship?
Well, I think Bertolino's pretty successful, so I think that they've known Brian since he was 6. They used to live right up near where they lived when they were up in New York. So we've mapped out all the houses and all the properties, the high school, the juicer office. All of those things are all within a very short drive of each other, like less than 3 miles in any direction. So,
well, I live in a town of a few thousand people, and there's people that live within less than half a mile of me, and I don't know who they are. So,
right, but there is a connection with these guys. The lawyer has said he's known Brian since he was 6 years old, so it's not like it was a distant neighbor or something.
2021 Starbase Odyssey says, I don't buy that the FBI has Brian. Me neither. Publicly wasting hundreds of thousands of dollars chasing a ghost. Public and leaders alike would crucify those responsible. Yeah, I agree with that statement. Joe says this. Oh, he's just sends a super sticker. Okay, Joe, thank you for the super sticker. Thank you for your support. Joe, you've been here since literally stream number 1, Joe. You've been around, and so thank you so much for being a part of that. Where was the source file you have of Bertolino saying he's known Laundrie since he was 6?
Oh, I can't remember exactly. It was just, I can get it for you though. I'll email.
I want it. If you can send it to me, that'd be great. Criminal Portrait, you're live on the air on the show that has no name, and now you're off the air.
Stage fright.
It's like people get on here and they're like, "Oh my gosh, I can't believe I'm here," and then totally choose to get off. Casey says, I'm keeping Gabby's families in my thoughts and prayers. My heart aches for them. So as does many people. Do you think the cartel has got their eyes on these WOOF places? Are they protected? I know when I travel to some third world countries that we have guards. There's gated communities, gated compounds, armed guards. We hire them out.
They're everywhere. Like they're literally Ireland, Canada, Portland, Oregon, places that he's already been. I mean, he might have established a relationship with one of them already that we have no clue about. So that's
but
why
most
we tried
sensibly, he would be in Central America.
It's a guess. I mean, we have no clue. He could definitely be up in Portland. That's where they were on their way to. They were at the end of this trip. They were going to go up to Portland, and they were there 2 years earlier.
I'm saying though, if he was in another country, let's say Ireland, Costa Rica, or whatever, he's more likely in Costa Rica than Ireland, like by far. Just, by transportation means it's easy for him to get to Costa Rica. It would be much more difficult for him to get to Ireland. Costa Rica is a third world country. Ireland's not.
No.
You know what I mean? So there's some.
No, and I think that the lawyer would try to keep him close to him so that if he is trying to build a case, he can talk to him and strategize. So I think Don brought up a good point earlier. there could be just a guard standing in front of a door, and they're moving him from different houses to keep him quiet.
The former FBI agent today on News Nation certainly made it seem like what you're saying is happening, that the lawyer knows where Brian's at least in the vicinity. 2021 A Starbase Odyssey says Brian has killed before. There's something in his past that's driving him off grid. If he's triggered and he's not mentally healthy, that is the route in which that could be possible. So I appreciate your thoughts on that. If he is in a situation where Evan says, nice show. Evan, feel free to hop on here with us if you have some thoughts. Amber, how are you?
Hi, I'm okay. How are you guys?
Doing well.
Good. I'm just tuning in, so I tuned in a little bit earlier, and then I had to go take a shower and stuff because otherwise I'd be up super late watching. But earlier when I tuned in, you were talking about some books, the murder in
Murder in Moab,
Jackson
murder
Hole.
in Teton County, murder in
And I
Jackson
had a
Hole.
question. Are those books that you just found just by chance, or is that something that he was reading?
No, somebody, Kim, who sends me all kinds of great information, sent those to me.
Oh, okay. I was like, oh my gosh, this is the craziest thing of all. I was a little bit shocked. I was like, there's no way he was reading these and everyone missed it. Okay, that's really all I had. I just wanted to know, how you found those.
So do you think it's weird that they were published on Gabby and Brian's anniversary?
Absolutely. I was
All three
mind
of them
blown
were
when you said that.
published on the anniversary.
Absolutely insane. I think there's too many coincidences in this case for them to be coincidences, in my opinion. It's weird. It's like, I watch a lot of NCIS and, oh my God, I say that and then I can't even think of his name. But he's always saying, I don't believe in coincidences. And this whole case has had me thinking that,
Yeah. Well, thank you, Amber, for calling in.
Sure.
C. Teton Titten says, as a 6-year-old, Brian looked up to Bertolino, a family friend, because he was a great hiker. By the way, thank you for the super chat. By the way, whenever just a second ago, Kim sent me the actual proof that a statement from Bertolino that said he's been the Laundrie family lawyer for 20 years.
Yeah.
What kind of family needs lawyers for 20 years? You know what I mean? I know a lot of families that have no lawyer ever. So 2021 A Starbase said Brian would go to a non-extradition country. So what are those countries? Cuba's on the list, right? There's not very many of those countries. So Cuba would make the most sense, which is why we went on a deep dive of that the other day. Joe says this: do you think if and when they find Brian and charge him, that the FBI will release all details? Joe, wouldn't that be awesome? Because we need answers. Give us some answers. If they find him, we'll find out about it in the subsequent days after or in the court. That's what I think. And I think the court's going to be public. I think they'll let media in. We'll find out. When that situation that took place at that school shooting in Florida, Parkland, Florida, that guy's is on trial right now for not that case, but something. They're picking the jury. And so as they're picking the jury, they're allowing media in. You're learning a whole lot about him during that process. So I think this will be a public thing, and we'll learn, if not subsequently, a couple days after the capture of Brian Laundrie in the court, we will.
Yeah. Hopefully we don't get drawn through a super long trial or something.
Crazy Frenchman says, is Dog the Bounty Hunter back on this case?
He was resting in Florida. He never went back.
He went to Colorado to deal with some stuff.
No, he said today that he was going to go back to Colorado, but instead he just stayed home and he just took some rest on his ankle.
Okay.
He's still on the search, still on the hunt in Florida.
Does he have a home in Florida? Because he was just there on a honeymoon. So I don't know what you mean by that.
No, I don't think he ever flew back to Colorado. That was the original plan. But then today he came out on Brian and said no, he was staying. He stayed in Florida and he just rested his ankle instead of going out.
Shield Maiden says some other outlets believe that Brian's grandmother has a property in Boone, North Carolina. Have you guys debunked this? We do have a debunked emoji. By the way, I forgot to tell you guys this. If you join the Feller fam, which Deba, Berga Block, Trekken, Amber, Michael, Simple Things that Kelsey has done today, if you join the Feller fam today, you have a brand new emoji and it says, let's pray for them. So we've added a let's pray for them emoji. We've added a debunked emoji yesterday. I think if I get 13 Feller fam members today, we get a new emoji for tomorrow. I'd love your ideas on what you think that should be. I haven't heard about this property in North Carolina. I've been saying, let's research the mom's family, trusts, maiden names of maiden names, and figure out what they could possibly own. Because
I think this
those are
is
clue pieces.
I think this is Alice Laundrie. This is Roberta's sister.
Sister-in-law, if their last name's Laundrie.
Well, it's Roberta's sister Alice is who I think it is. It's in North Carolina.
She has a property there.
Mm-hmm. New Bern, I think, is where it is.
2021 A Starbase Odyssey says the easiest way out of this country is either by private planes at small airports that don't require flight planes and personnel checks, and by boat. I totally agree. And I've talked about this extensively. I've been on a private plane before. It was the easiest process ever. I literally walked out into the runway. No one checked my ID, nothing. Got onto a plane here in Illinois, flew to Destin, Florida. A car picked us up, walked off of the plane, straight onto the runway into a car that was on the runway picking us up. And then we went to where we were going in Florida. So I thought certainly you can have those types of relationships, even in, depending on how it all works. If you grease the hands of some of the people in a third world country, you can get a lot passed. And I'm not saying that's what happened, but that is a possibility. And I'll say this too. I just had a conversation yesterday about we're trying to ship an ambulance to a third world country. I was having a conversation with a guy and just talking about getting the shipping container there. I'm like, is it expensive to have a shipping container? Well, no, not really. He said, the thing is, we gotta grease the hands of the people who received the import. Oh, that's the play. I didn't understand that. I didn't realize that. So you got to figure out who are the people working, the locals working, and then you got to go grease them up so that we can, supply what we need. So Blessed in Texas said, and I'm not saying that's how it should be, but that's just if you want to protect your investment, I guess that's what you have to do. Blessed in Texas says, what did Chris do before juicing? Sounds more like retirement type gig. He's in his 60s now. Try to go 20 years back in his life. Okay.
I can't remember exactly how old he is when we started looking at that Stan Anderson stuff. But yeah, I don't know what he did. When Brian was in high school, I think that's when they started the juicing company. So what they did before that, I think his mom worked for the county clerk's office, and I don't know what his dad did.
His mom worked for the county clerk's office all the way to 2020. So we got the government records on that. And she held that job for a number of years, and she, according to public record, was drawing a salary from the juicing company as well. And I don't know about Christopher. The only thing I could find on him was that he was working for, Tabitha says he's 62, that he was working for the juicing company. Ty's Mustang says, I think Brian left way before the 13th. There was no rain there the week before with a private airport north of the reserve called the Hidden AD Airport. So I guess the last official sighting of him was on the 6th through 8th. So there's not any footage. There's been speculation by the neighbors saying they saw him or whatever, but there's not been any footage of him beyond whenever he was at Fort DeSoto. So they definitely had a head start. I'm not going to disagree with you because I don't have any facts that prove otherwise. Joshua, thanks for calling in.
Hey, thank you very much for having me on the show again. Many blessings. How's everybody doing?
Doing well. What are your thoughts today?
So I'm definitely sticking with him going up the Appalachian Trail to get to the lawyer so he can have some help from him. That way they can protect him. And, New York really is connected to Canada, right? So go up to Buffalo kind of thing, maybe. There's also evidence somewhere where he took that van, where they saw him take the van before it was seized by the FBI. So there's some type of evidence that shows exactly how he did what he did, unfortunately. So it's pretty sad.
Wow.
Definitely sad, for sure.
Did you guys get to see any of those videos from that guy, that Northport Dave or John live from Northport that was driving around some of the areas?
The filer or whatever he was doing. Yeah. I saw that.
That was definitely pretty interesting. So, do you guys have any more information, about the other phone at all?
Nothing. No. Just assume that if he's on the run, he has a burner phone or some type of phone. He has to have some sort of communication, I would think.
He does. He's talking to the lawyer somehow as he's working his way up there. He's familiar with, he's been up there before, so he knows how to work his way around there. And did you guys believe about that post earlier about the hiker, about the lawyer being a hiker and stuff?
Yeah, we've got pictures of him actually hiking like on the side of a mountain. So yeah, he's definitely an outdoorsman.
There's the connection right there. He's helping them get up through the mountains, and they're going to help him in New York or take him across to Canada.
Well, it's pretty hard to build a defense if you don't know the exact timeline, every step that Brian took on this journey. And that's where he's going to be able to pick the defense apart or the prosecution apart.
Depositions.
The prosecution, he'll be able to beat whatever they try to throw at him and say, well, no, Brian wasn't there. He was in Coulter Bay or something like that.
Joshua, I understand what you're saying. It's like becoming less likely in my mind that he's doing some type of survivalist type thing. And I'm agreeing more in line with an idea of what Don threw out earlier, that he's being protected somehow by someone, and they're likely moving him around, keeping an eye on him. And the way that a former FBI agent said it was like the language that Stephen Bertolino is using indicates that he knows Brian's alive.
Do we know how long he spent in the Appalachian Mountains before? Was it like a month, 2 months? I mean, is he known to go out and hike for a couple months at a time without coming back? Does he have that experience?
The information about that has been just thrown out. Like, and somebody said 3 days and somebody said 3 months. And so because there's been such a wide variety in the answers, it's hard to know what's true. So we just say, yeah, he's been out there some. We don't know how long. But it seemed like his sister was like, at best, he's a mid-level survivalist.
Yeah.
So, that help. Yeah.
And the Appalachian Trail has nice little huts that are all covered and protected. It's not like you're out in the wild chasing down deer with a spear and trying to survive. So I don't think he could be out there for much.
Patricia says this, that Gabby was manipulated. He told her she would not get the blog going. That broke my heart. Like, you got to believe, if you're in a relationship with somebody who doesn't believe in your dreams, you don't need to be in a relationship with them. They need to be behind you, supporting you, cheering you on. It's not just a little website. It's not just a little YouTube channel. She says, I had an abuser. He would beat me. I'm sorry, Patricia, you had to deal with that. It just breaks my heart.
That's horrible, yeah. What a shameful person for a man to put his hands on a woman in any type of way. That's a whole nother conversation.
Yeah. I agreed. I think there's three pretty good men on this side of the screen over here, so we don't all do it.
That's very true.
Kim says, just have to think there's a reason Chris and Roberta are not leaving the house. Whoever said that last night, it really hit home for me. Method of communicating has to rely on them staying there. Good point, because I don't understand why they don't go somewhere else.
We were speculating on that today too. Why did he go cut his lawn? Why didn't he hire somebody? And somebody said, well, maybe that's how they're going to discover the bunker in the backyard.
Hey, Gavis, who predicted the lawn cutting last night?
I think you did, sir.
I feel like I've made several predictions that pan out. Like,
well, that's not a hard prediction to make, Tyler. This stuff was up to everyone's knees in there. Come on.
It's still a prediction. Ain't nobody. There wasn't. Lord. I didn't hear. There was not one other person in all of the interwebs talking about that law need to be.
Okay. If you want to be really good, where is Brian right now? Then give me your prediction.
Backyard. No, I'm just kidding.
Just said where I thought he was.
In the
Joshua,
grass.
thanks for calling in.
Thank you, guys. Have a blessed night.
You too. Robert says California, North Carolina is this close to the family member in North Carolina. Are you saying it's this close? Or are you saying, is this close? Is California, North Carolina close to Boone, North Carolina, wherever that family member is?
Yeah, I believe California and North Carolina is just northwest of the New Bern where Alice lives. So yeah, we're looking at it. We're looking at all leads, guys.
Kim makes a great point. Trudy says the laundries. The laundries. So, Gavis, there's a picture I sent you yesterday that showed activity on the morning of the 28th. Did you see it?
With respect to what? I'm sorry, I go through thousands of articles right now.
So, yesterday, Kim emailed me a picture of Brian and Gabby.
Oh, right.
Walking across a street on the 28th.
Right.
Of the Mountain Trails Gallery.
Right.
Which sets the time back one day, which means there was a 24-hour time period. That the time was 13:06, so that would be 1:06 p.m. on the 28th. They're walking in front of that gallery, which means that's a whole 24 hours after the Mary Piglet incident.
Right. If it's true and not faked and all the rest of it. So, yeah. But the one thing that would help clear this all up is that if we could get that exact time and date of all those texts, the Stan text and the no service in Yosemite. Otherwise, like one of these clues or one of these control points, it just creates a deck of cards that just fall down because we don't have enough.
I'll show you guys the picture that I'm talking about. So this is a picture that is, and again, that's all we have. So it's possible that it's not Brian and Gabby, but this is a picture that was taken on the 28th at 1:06 p.m. just down the street from where the Mary Piglet's at. And
yeah, we looked at this photo and we were trying to figure out if he had a skateboard in his left hand and all kinds of things.
Do you guys think that's them? Is that for sure Brian and Gabby? But that looks like Gabby, and it looks like if it is Brian, he has a bandana mask and he's pulled it down.
God, why do we always get pictures that are so unclear and so blurry? And like it's every witness that we get is a blurry picture. Like I feel like I'm getting trolled at every turn. Right.
I'm gonna put this question. I'm gonna put a poll out. Is that Brian and Gabby in the picture? Because a lot of people are saying it's not them. Some people are saying it's them. I was convinced that it's Gabby, but then as I look at it, I'm like, well, it might not be them at all, but it could be them.
I wonder if we could calculate exactly how tall this guy is with reference to maybe that stop sign on the side, because Brian is pretty short and he's very, very slender. So
he's 5'9", right?
Right. So this guy looks a little bigger than 5'9" to me. Like the girl's probably 5'7", right?
So I put it in the poll. Why don't you guys answer it and say, is this Brian and Gabby? Somebody's saying there's no way to know. Heather, can you see the picture?
Yes.
What do you think?
I'm calling in from Australia, so g'day.
Good day.
I was just thinking last night, I saw a great documentary in 2017 called The Florida Project. And it's about these abandoned hotels in Florida around Disney that were built in the 60s and 70s that tourists don't really want to go to anymore. And they're sort of, the underclass lives there now, either permanently or temporarily. Junkies, prostitutes, pedophiles.
Get the picture.
Yeah. I just think it'd be a great place to hide.
That's a good point. Go hide in some. Somebody said homeless shelter too is another place.
Yeah, these hotels, they're basically, people that are on rental blacklists. They might be ex-cons. They just pay by the week, no identification, required. They don't have to sign leases, nothing like that. So someone could have paid cash months in advance. You know what I mean? And he could just be hiding out there and maybe only going out at night. And they're inhabited by this underclass of people that, turn tricks from the hotel. They might go up to Disney every day and pickpocket. So they're not the kind of people that are going to snitch on each other, if you get what I mean. And the hotel owners kind of turn a blind eye to the prostitution and the drug taking and that kind of thing, because they know who their clientele are and obviously want to keep their business going.
Well,
But
it's
also,
a good thought, Heather. Do you have can you email me the location of a
Yeah.
particular place?
No, I just emailed you a link earlier today. It's called the Florida Project, the movie. But yeah, I'm not from the States, obviously, so I'm not sure exactly where these hotels are, but they've obviously been replaced by better hotels. Tourists don't want to stay there anymore. So they're kind
It's
of
in Orlando. Okay, I'm just
Orlando,
looking at the
and we
email.
know that the sister's been to Orlando recently, and the parents have been. It's not a stupid place to hide if you're a crook.
Yeah, Orlando's not far from them, so that's a good thought, Heather. Thank you so much.
Great. See you. Have a great day.
Yep, it's a good thought. I'll think about. Kim,
Hey, how are you?
you're the secret intel on this photo, so
Well, I was just gonna say a couple of people in the chat were saying what I thought after I sent it to you last night. Is I was looking at this and I told you I found that not alternative timeline, but the timeline with the additional details in Facebook. But a lot of people are saying what I thought. The more I looked at this picture, that really looked like Gabby, but that didn't look like Brian. It looks like someone else. I mean, I think the height is right. I mean, but it just didn't look like him. But in that alternative timeline, that family, the parents of the girl, there was another girl. And I'm sorry, everybody didn't know what I'm talking about, but I sent Tyler a timeline that somebody had put together in Facebook, and the parents of a girl that turned this photo in, that went and got the photo from the museum, the surveillance photo, and it's a surveillance photo. That's why it's so fuzzy. But her parents saw Gabby several times alone on the 26th and 27th at the Wi-Fi platform. Is that what it was called, Tyler? The Wi-Fi platform at the campground, and then saw Brian driving alone. And this photo to me looks like her, but not like him. But then Gavis, you said something about the skateboard. And I don't know if you remember this or where it was, but I remember at some point in time, there was a little boy that came forward that said that Brian gave him a skateboard at the Grand Teton. And everybody was talking about he didn't have a skateboard. But when we were looking at the video last night of the traffic stop, there was a skateboard in the back of the van.
Yeah, and also when he got the tattoo on his hand, that's what he wanted, was the 3 mountains plus the skater.
Gotcha. Okay. So you remember that too, about the little boy saying that he gave him his skateboard? That's odd to me. I mean, they say a lot of times when people think, that they're going away or they start giving away their possessions, if the skateboard was that important to him, that he gave it to this little boy. But it does kind of look like this guy has a skateboard. And then the bandana kind of goes hand in hand with that Dennis Davis, saying that the guy that, he saw had the bandana as a mask. So I don't know. I was reading everybody saying that, it looks like her, not like him.
Just looking more at this picture on the fly, like he looks like he's got a beer gut, and Brian is skinny as a rail. So
Unless
we
there's
can
something
eliminate
on the front.
I don't.
No, that looks like a beer gut to me. Because
it doesn't
I
look like
recognize it. I've got one. So
it doesn't look like a beer gut to me. It looks like
I don't drink beer, but I'm fat for sure.
It doesn't look like that to me. It looks like shadow stuff.
Yeah, it's so strange because it really, to me, like everything about this picture, and it is fuzzy, so there's no telling, but everything about this picture to me screamed Gabby, but I didn't feel the same way about the guy. Like, I don't
I
feel.
don't ever remember seeing Gabby in a white sweatshirt like that. She had a really good blue one, but I
Yeah.
didn't remember seeing her in a white one. So that's why that picture kind of threw me off. So for now, I don't think we could put that as something we can mark as a peg to.
So I'm going to open it up on Photoshop so we just get a closer look. So I think just as I'm looking at this, get a
This guy's
little
got-
closer angle.
I think this guy's got boobs too.
This area that I just highlighted, that area could be a beard or could be a bandana, first off. All right.
Mhm.
That could be a beer gut or could be a shadow. That could be an indication of people who have beer guts poke out a little bit in that area as men as well. Or it could be a backpack and it's putting weird pressure like a strap.
Yeah, it almost looks like a strap or like, some sort of like something carrying across his chest. But, I mean, I don't want to be maudlin, but, Gabby, her dad, her stepfather said that she was found in her favorite sweatshirt. If this was hours before.
Yep. And that she wore a gray sweatshirt. I watched a video about what people thought was her favorite sweatshirt. I can't tell if that's white or a light gray, and she had a light gray one.
I have, I know it didn't help much tonight, but I have, you know what I do for a living, and I have a guy that works for me who's a photo restoration expert. I'm a CMO, Chief Marketing Officer. I'll see if he can restore this photo or if he can clear up this photo any.
This, people talking about his feet. I don't know how he walked, as people said, but I don't think you could tell how somebody walked in this footage.
Yeah, I'll see if the guy that works for me can do anything to this photo and see if he can clear it up any. It just, for some reason, it looks like if that's Gabby, whoever the girl is, she's got a mask on too. It's just white.
Right. I can try to sharpen it, but I don't know if that's going to do anything. So,
and somebody was saying, don't they usually wear shorts? But I think the temperature was really cold this day. The night, I know.
I'm sharpening it.
Yeah, I'm sorry, but I can't buy this picture. I don't think this is a positive identification.
It looks more like a mask. Now that I've done that, I feel like.
Yeah. I don't know. I just found it and I sent it to Tyler because it was so strange that this timeline had events on the 28th. And this wasn't the only thing on the 28th, was it, Tyler? There was a few other things that were on the 28th.
So on the 28th, TikTok user Once Upon a Time comments on Steel Girl's 20th video saying, hang on a second, saying she allegedly saw Gabby walking towards their van. Also on the 28th, Instagram user Ryan_Burke states he allegedly saw Gabby's van at 21:30 in the Lupine Meadows trailhead. Also on the 28th, this picture was taken 3 minutes from the Mary Piglet, 3-minute walk from the Mary Piglet. So that was sort of the rundown of things that had happened on the 28th.
Yeah. Yeah, I don't know. I don't know, Gabby. I'm not sold either way. It's just when I originally looked at it, I was like, this is interesting. It looks like Gabby. But the guy doesn't look like Brian to me, I don't think.
Let me look at the poll. It's like 32% are saying yes, 69% are saying no. So it's interesting, though, just food for thought. It's not, to me, we can't make a final determination. I lean towards the chat. I'm like 70% no, 30% yes.
I think I am too.
If it was just her, I would lean more towards yes.
I said same.
That looks a lot less like him than what others have been saying. So,
yep. Well, okay. I'm gonna hop off, but that's all I wanted to say. I just was trying to type it, and then I'm like, I'm just gonna jump in and say it.
Yeah. Well, thank you for calling in and keep sending me the good insight, Kim.
Yeah, I'm sending you what I find. Bye, y'all.
Thanks. Just So Sweet says, God bless Tyler. Do you think people will put the Moab couple murders to rest now that Gabby is found to be strong? Yeah, I think that has diminished the connection between the two of them. However, I just can't help it. In the back of my mind, there's just too many things that people would label as coincidence that happen to all line up. And so from my perspective, it does diminish it. And there is some more distance there than existed before. But I still got a little bit of inkling in the back of my mind that think that those things are connected. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to put a poll out about that and say, do you think Brian is connected to the 2 murders in Moab? And just see what people think. I'm not the only one that has a thought about this. Do you think Brian is connected to 2 murders in Moab? Gavis, what are you thinking about that? Has it diminished your thoughts on that at all, the cause of death?
No, but I hear everybody else on all the other channels is saying that there's not connected in any way, shape, or form. So that's why people come here, get good information.
I kind of feel like, hey, we've been on a good streak of things that we predicted around here, and I understand that those girls were shot, so that's why there's even more distance there. But
I'm confident in the work that I've done, and if that's what I come up with, that's what I come up with, and nobody's opinion is going to change mine.
I've been walking the road down 2 different timelines, as I've said many times, and one timeline has them connected and one timeline has them disconnected. Tim Snow, thank you for the super chat. Coincidence that authorities got CL, Christopher Laundrie, to help search 2 days after the coroner concluded the autopsy. Just a thought. In my mind, the autopsy was ran by the Teton County coroner. It was completely disconnected from the FBI. So I have a hard time connecting those 2 things, but maybe there's more going on than meets the eye. There were 16 different agencies involved in the search in the Carlton Reserve, and the Teton County was not one of those agencies. However, the FBI was in charge. However, Northport Police was the one running that. So let me see what the polls are saying. It's 68% are saying yeah. No, 66% are saying yeah. Brian's connected to the 2 murders in Moab. If you haven't voted, go ahead and go vote in that real fast, because I want a bigger pool. We have about 600 votes. If we can get that to 1,000, I'll have a better idea in my mind to think about what people think. Double the number of votes that we have going on. Silent says, what about the keys found where the 2 girls' bodies were found? Did it fit Gabby's car or Brian Laundrie's house door? So yesterday, if you'll remember, Gavis, we went through the first body cam footage, and we paused and looked at the keys, and they do not match the description of the keys that were found. So unless there was another set of keys, which I doubt that there were.
My crack team found one key hanging up in the back of the van in one of the past photos, and it was just a small short key. It didn't match up with the keys at the site.
Just one key, not an actual.
Yeah, it was just one by itself. Looked like it fit a locker or something.
Crazy L, thank you for joining the Feller fam. You joined Joe, who upgraded today, by the way. Debbie, Berga Black, Trekka, Amber, Michael, Simple Things, and Kelsey, who all became a part of the Feller fam today. Thank you so much for joining the Feller fam. If we get 13 people, I think, to join the Feller fam today, then we get another emoji. I added a new emoji today. It says, let's pray for them. So if you're part of the Feller fam, why don't you put that emoji in? I haven't seen it scroll through yet. So can I see that new emoji scroll through if you're part of the Feller fam? I'd love to see that today. Tara says this, he wouldn't be the first serial killer to have a girlfriend. Okay. I guess, who was that one? Ted Bundy had a girlfriend that he never had done bad things to. Andre, how are you?
All right, how are you?
Doing well. Thanks for calling in.
Yeah. I just wanted to say, it was like Stephen Bertolino, man, he looks similar, man. He looks real familiar. He looks similar to Chris Laundrie. Like, they look alike. And I was trying to, like, I wonder if they're related somehow.
I don't know. I know now that he had made a statement saying he's been their family lawyer for 20 years, but I don't know anything about a relationship between them.
Like, family, like, you know what I mean?
I think Steve's got a lot more hair than Brian, but maybe.
Could be. Something to look into, Andre. Thank you for calling in.
Thanks.
Come on, where's the tough questions, guys? Come on.
I'm looking through some of the chats that are coming in, just seeing if there's anything that is worth popping onto the screen. John Mikowski says this: I feel Tyler and Gavis bring the most reliable information. Hey, we try. And anytime I especially am in working hard to do this, anytime somebody says something that we don't have an exact source on, I try to say, tell me where's the source, send me the source. And then above that, we're all trying to find Brian. So there's a lot that's speculation. And I think people should be able to separate things in the past that we know are facts and have anchors to truth to them versus things in the future that we're predicting could be true. But thank you for saying that. We're trying really hard. And then you say this: I think Brian Laundrie is indoors somewhere, and I bet that he watches this channel at night to see what the public knows about him, and the lawyer also watches. So, Stephen Bertolino, if you are watching, feel free to email press@tylerfellow.com. And Brian Laundrie, if you're watching, man, let me have a conversation with you. I promise I'll be fair. I'll be good to you, man. Let me have a conversation with you, and I'd love to just pray for you. So that's what I think about that. I'd love to have. Do you think he'd have a conversation with me? I doubt it, Gavis, but I think I'd be good at having a conversation with him.
Yeah, I don't think the lawyer's going to talk and say anything. So good luck.
I'm talking about Brian Laundrie.
I don't think he's going to say anything either because he's going to have a gag order.
Allie, what are your thoughts today?
Oh Lord, I didn't realize I was on.
You're on.
Well, I got notes in hand again.
Good.
I did miss about 15 minutes to take my dogs outside, so it is possible that some of the things that I have written down were already addressed.
That's okay.
So my first thoughts backtrack to the narcissistic thing.
Yeah.
And I can't find the note I wrote last night because this also has come up so much over the last few days, that there are different types of mental health personality disorders that he could fit into any of the three: narcissistic, sociopathic, and I love that. Love it.
I knew you would.
I make dream catchers and smudge them myself too.
Or psychopath, right?
Oh yes, psychopathy. So I did a little bit of deep diving on that and getting the DCM-5.
I have a copy of that book. Yeah, the DSM.
Right. So the DSM. So looking up the individual definitions of clinical diagnoses for them.
Let me go grab my book real fast.
Mm-hmm.
It's like a show and tell now.
Right? He does seem to fit narcissistic personality disorder more than sociopathy, in the fact that he seemed...
So I have an actual physical copy of the book, the DSM.
Yes.
It's really a thick book. Check it out.
I need to get one. If I have the complete works of Shakespeare, I should probably have a copy of that too.
Guys listening, so we know that you're not supposed to diagnose people without meeting with them personally. We're not diagnosing people, but we think, according to Allie last night, and I agree with her, if we can figure out which of these categories he most likely is, it could point us to where he's at. So
exactly.
Were there not some experts that said he was a covert narcissist?
I think I was the expert that may have mentioned that.
Okay.
But there's been psychiatrists that have said he was schizophrenic.
First to say none of us are clearly licensed mental health professionals, though you, being a pastor, do have a little bit more.
Well, I went to graduate school for counseling.
Well, then you definitely have a closer relationship to clinical psychology.
So, anyways, what was your thoughts about it?
So, when I was reading up on it, narcissists tend to be more self-centered, where sociopaths have zero empathy for anybody in the world. I mean, he clearly has some trust in his parents because they're the ones that got him out. Also, I believe it is sociopaths that are either sociopath or psychopaths. One is made by environment. The other has a genetic component as well.
So the preface psych has to do with your
Right.
mind, and the preface socio has to do with your environment.
So I was right in remembering that sociopaths are made and psychopaths are genetic component and
Psychopath is brain genetic.
Yep.
Sociopath is environment. Yep.
Okay. Yep.
Nobody
that
knows
makes
how
sense. Social
narcissists are formed.
sciences.
Like when it comes to narcissists, nobody knows how they're formed.
Some sociopaths are narcissists, but not all narcissists are sociopaths, is what
Right.
I read today.
Right.
Anyways, I just wanted to put out there that there are more than one. It could be that he isn't a narcissist and he's a sociopath or a psychopath. I just wanted to put that out there because it can. Also, if it's the psychopath end of things, it would kind of explain his parents' cold demeanors too. I mean, they often say there's a genetic component to it. Okay, so that's just one point I wanted to make sure and bring up. I did a little digging because there has been new information of some people. It could be rumor, could be, more ploys for people to get views or whatever, that there was a bomb threat that he made when he was in high school.
Right.
I did a very quick internet search because I'm like, well, at the time that he was in high school, because they're very young, you would think that there would have been, even a cop blurb in a newspaper somewhere of a bomb threat happening at the school. He was a minor, so it wouldn't have his name, but you would think somewhere on the internet you would be able to find a report of that somewhere.
Right.
I couldn't find anything in the years that he would have been attending the school in Long Island.
Okay.
So I just wanted to say that I did kind of quick check into that. There's nothing that comes up, which you would think something would. Like I said, even local newspapers do the little police blurbs every day or whatever. I had a suggestion for the next emoji, which would be humble, because
okay,
a lot of
That's a good
people
one.
have been really emotionally charged today, I think, in the chat, and I think that we all need to remember to be a little more humble about things, because that's just kind.
Not only that, but like none of us know what happened for sure. And
Right,
So
so
humility would be saying like, I have my thoughts about what could happen. Here's what they are. They're not authoritative. So there's room for your thoughts too as a possibility.
Right, respecting the fact that other people may have a differing opinion.
Yep.
That doesn't mean you have to give up your own opinion. It just means you have respect for others as well.
Right.
In the picture, I wanted to hit on that and give my opinion.
Okay.
The male in the picture, Brian looks to have a little bit longer of a neck. In that picture, that person appears to have a very short neck and wide. He also looks stockier built than Brian. Brian's kind of linky.
That's what Gavis was saying.
Yeah. You pointed out that Ted Bundy had a girlfriend that he never harmed. The Green River Killer, which was even a more prolific killer, really in the long run, he killed more people than Ted Bundy could ever hoped of. He had a wife, and he actually stopped killing around the years he married his
Wow.
wife, and she did not even know until he was arrested that anything was going on.
Oh my goodness.
Dahmer took a 9 year.
Yeah, the Green River Killer also has said in interviews with people, or had said, that he loved his wife very much and would have never dreamt of hurting her. So there was compassion towards at least one other person in the world, which goes back to the mental health thing of where there are very distinct characteristics between different types of personality disorders.
Yeah.
I think that's all my thoughts tonight. I'm kind of in
Well, thank you so much for calling in.
You guys have a great night.
You too, Allie. She needs her own talk show on true crime stuff. She should start her own podcast at least. Just go through some of these cases that people aren't familiar with and break down some of the intricacies of them. I think people would really enjoy that if they're into true crime stuff. Southern Gal Jen says, let's get to 4,000 likes. Yeah, let's get to 4,000 likes because at this point, we've had lots of people on and we're not even close to 4,000 likes. So let's see if we can get 5,000 people on the stream right now. If you guys go hit the like button, that'd be a good challenge. There's 4620 watching right now. If you guys all go hit the like button that haven't liked, if you subscribe and you haven't subscribed, then that will shoot us out into the algorithm. There's plenty of late night people out there right now that are just itching for something to watch. And why not shine the light on what's happening with Gabby, find Brian together. Sleeping Beauty says, why does everyone blame mental health but ignore patented radio frequency weapons and technologies that are being tested on Americans? Well, we don't have any proof of what you're saying. It's all conspiratorial. Kimba gives the big thumbs up. Dawn says, ooh, I forgot to hit the like button. Did it just now. Thank you for doing that.
Yeah, I think having mental health issues and not taking medication that you're supposed to and doing hard drugs could also really magnify the problem.
Without a doubt. Or if they were on medicine. A theory that I had originally was like, did Brian have a diagnosis? And then part of the reason he flew home was because he had to meet with a psychiatrist to continue his medicine. I know that's major. I'm not saying that that's what happened, but I'm saying.
Well, that's part of why I went back and looked at the long video of Daniel's cam today, because I wanted to be crystal clear on what he said in the van on the ride to the
police
hotel.
Officer's body cam 1 or body cam 2?
First cam. And when
Body
he was
cam
driving, yeah. So when Daniel was driving him back to the hotel to drop him off, they have a big, long conversation about different places that they were going to go. You got to go here. You got to go see Sequoia. You got to go to this one. You got to travel down this road. And Brian talked about how he was being foggy. And if you watch that video really closely, that officer, when he goes up to Gabby says, well, how far do I have to drive? And he's like, oh, it's not far. It's right by the Moonflower. So he told Gabby where Brian was going to be that night. And then when he's with Brian, and at the end of that, she tells the police officer that she just the day before had one of those $5 showers at some place.
Yeah.
And then when he got in the van and Brian was with him, he told Brian that I told her to just go get a shower and do that. So then Brian knew exactly where she was too. So they didn't even have to call each other. They knew exactly where they were. Like, the incompetence of that individual should be that alone there should get him fired. It's disgusting.
I don't want to personally make speculation on that.
But he said it. It's in the video. That's evidence. He said it. He told Gabby where Brian was going to be, and he told Brian where Gabby was going to be. There's no refuting it. He said it. Came out of his mouth.
I know, but I'm not saying I don't want to say whether or not it's a fireable offense or whatever. So.
True.
I didn't tell her where you're staying because, like I said, I'm trying to keep you guys away from each other for tonight.
Go back to where he talks to Gabby.
He just said I didn't tell her where you were staying.
But you got to go back to where Gabby was. Like when Gabby's scared about how far she has to drive alone and she's explaining to him, like just before he hands her the keys.
Alrighty, Gabrielle, you want to step out for me? As you can see, I have keys in my hand, which is good, okay? So, something that I do, that I emphasize to him, and I don't know if I emphasize to you or not, don't text each other tonight. He wants to pass on the same message you passed to him. He's really looking forward to talking to you again, but I told him, and you, unless there's earth-shattering emergency news, don't text tonight, okay? Even with the good nights, I love you. He's saying good night now. He's saying he loves you now, and you guys can talk tomorrow morning, okay? He's going to go to the hotel. I'm going to give you the keys to the van. Alrighty?
It's right here.
Here's that. I'm giving him a ride over to the hotel, okay? So, everything's going to be okay.
Will it be a far drive for me to get him in the morning?
I'm just curious.
I'm not going to tell you where he's going to be at tonight.
I know.
Like I said, I want you guys to be separated. But I can tell you this.
I just don't usually drive the van, so I just want to make sure it's not like far away.
No. It's
Okay.
it's basically from here to Moonflower. Okay. It's not far at all. So let's get you in the van. Let's get you on your way. Alrighty. You want that Gatorade, by the way?
I guess I interpret it differently because.
And then it gets worse because when he's giving Brian a ride, and as she goes towards the back of the van, he brings her back again, and he says, "Well, why don't you go take a shower?" And she says, "Well, I just took one yesterday." So
I know, but the statement to me, he didn't tell. He said at a hotel, like there's, you know what I mean?
How big is Moab?
I know, but I'm just saying, like, in either way, it doesn't really make a big of a difference at the end of what ends up happening. You know what I mean?
I thought it was pretty important, but maybe not.
I'm having a hard time figuring out why it would be a bigger deal because they're going to come together anyways. We talked about that a lot, whether they were separated or not, whether it was formal or not. You know. Let's watch a little bit more of it.
Also, something I want you to know. Here, stand over here real fast for me. If you go over to City Market, they have a list of places where you can get yourself a shower for like $4 or $5, something like that. They're pretty cheap. A place where you can shower, decompress, de-stress a little bit. Alrighty.
Yeah, I just showered yesterday at one of those.
Well, you didn't have today happen yesterday, so
No,
it does my wife wonders when she gets stressed out. It's like, get in the shower. Come on,
It
just
does
get in the shower.
sound really relaxing.
Go take a shower, relax, take some time to yourself. And like I said, don't text each other tonight. Text each other tomorrow morning after your eyes open up and you're fully awake at your morning routine, okay? All right, Jessica. You have a good night, okay?
Thank you.
All right. You learn a lot in the first 5 years. How long you guys been together?
I would say, well, we've known each other since the start of high school. But in our relationship, it's been 3.
Huda, thank you for the super chat. You say, as a licensed cognitive behavioral therapist and mental health counselor, I believe he suffers from schizophrenia psychosis. That's probably what I think too, because of what we know about him, or antisocial personality disorder, which would be psychopath. And the back tire is punctured in Teton. Okay, good observation. Good, something to think about. Point to make. I think the schizophrenia thing for sure. Southern Gal Jen, how are you?
Hi, doing good. I just want to ask you guys, the gentleman that sent Gabby on her way, so to speak, with the shower, blah blah blah, was that Brett?
No, Brett's the one with the beard. Daniel's the one with the baseball cap.
Okay. I just find it disturbing over and over again. I've watched this footage so much. Does anyone in the broadcast feel at all? It just feels patronizing to me. Some of the things that they say, like, well, this is what my wife does, and this and this and that. I don't know. It's just so much, oh, Brian this. I don't know. That's just the way I feel. I'm sure in retrospect, all of these officers look back at this and wish things could have gone differently in a lot of different ways. But just as a female, having been in that position myself in the past, it just feels really patronizing. And once again, you know, as well, I said the other night, I'm still just waiting and praying that we're going to get the footage of the Ranger in the car with Gabby. I feel like they're holding on to that for a very specific reason. that may come out even later, way on down the road, when it hopefully comes to court. So, just my thoughts. I didn't know if anybody felt the same way.
Yeah, I think so, and I hope. I mean, they may never release that, or they may release it in court one day, but I want it released as well.
Yeah, it would be really important to see who she called when she got her phone back.
Kyle the Duck sent in the super chat. Thank you for the super chat. She says, "Do you think that Brian parents or lawyers ever thought it would get this much publicity? Maybe they don't know where he is anymore due to constant eyes." This is like a once in every 5 years type level of publicity. The last time we had a case with this level of publicity was the Chris Watts one, and that one was basically already settled. As far as one where it's unsettled, I can't even remember. It was like the Smart case or the Holloway case or the girl in Aruba case. So I doubt they had any clue that it was going to blow up like this. What do you think, Jen?
I honestly don't think that if it wouldn't have been for Red, White, and Bethune,
Yeah.
it would not have blown up this way. We are avid campers ourselves, well, more glamping like them. But we're big fans of KYD and them and other people. But I don't think, unfortunately, we, like the coroner said yesterday, we don't hear, this happens so often, but we don't hear. I mean, just like the young lady that's now missing from Fort Hood, another one. And Gavis, I really pray that the indigenous people, they just go, just vanish without a trace, without a thought. And there's so many cold cases out there. Just like, and I feel like it's going to be a long time. Yesterday, after we heard the coroner, I had this just sinking feeling in my stomach that, along with what we're going through in the world right now, it reminds me a bit of how long it's taken just to get, and I'm sure you guys are familiar with the Daybell and Vallow case. I have followed that case from beginning to end, and it has been like 1.5 years since they found those children, or the remains of those children. And I feel like it's going to be a long time before we get justice. And I didn't feel that way before the coroner.
I think you're probably right, and it's sad. Thank you, Jen, for calling in.
Thanks, you guys.
Holly, thank you for the super chat, for the support of the channel. Really means a lot. Tiffany, thanks for calling in. How are you?
Hey guys. Hey Gavis. Hey Tyler. How are y'all?
Doing well. Thank you for calling in, for supporting the channel, for liking the video, subscribing.
All of the above, right?
Yeah.
I'm just glad to see that both of y'all look like y'all got some rest and y'all are smiling and a little bit more chipper tonight.
Well, yesterday was a tough day if you have eyes on this case,
Yeah. Well, I wanted to go over a couple of points. Now, first thing is, I think I'm going to retract what I said. Like, I think it's been a week or so ago. I think the fight at the Piglet was basically, Gabby was trying to do this. So I think maybe she thought maybe somebody would have saw the way he was acting, which would have damaged what she was trying to do. Because, if somebody was with you or Gavis with you, Tyler, or anything, and was acting like that, that would embarrass you if you're trying to be, on a site. You know what I'm saying? So maybe she got mad and she was embarrassed, and that might have been the fight, because he didn't want her doing this because he broke her down for so many years. And with this, it may have helped her build her self-esteem and her independence. You get what I'm saying?
If I saw any person do that, I would take them outside and tune them out back. Any man.
Right. But it's just, she was trying to put like herself out there and him in a loving relationship. You get where I'm coming from with that, is that it could have embarrassed her. and could have hurt what she was trying to do. So maybe the argument after that was like, I'm trying to get on social media. I'm trying to do this blog or whatever, and you're going to damage me. She was very into this situation. But that was just a thought on that. But on a different note, I did call my local like campground in our area, and they didn't even know about this case. Can you believe that?
I'm not surprised. I think we think everyone knows about it because we're so deep in it. But I talk to people all the time that have no idea about it. I'm like, and it's just a reminder like, oh, okay, me and my group of people on YouTube are deep diving in it. That doesn't mean that 350 million Americans are.
Yeah, but with being campers, so I think that's why when I go up to the mountains this weekend, I'm going to try to hit some of these campgrounds to get these posters in the office because, people need to know. I mean, I still have my gut. Y'all know where I'm coming from. I think he's in a camper somewhere. I still want to know where that camper is. I'm with Tyler on that. Where's the old camper?
Give me that old camper.
Right. Now, on the third note, okay, so like this video that we're watching now, you see his demeanor. He likes attention. Okay, just like the bomb threat. He likes attention. Gabby's crying. She's a mess. He has no compassion. Okay, no compassion at all. So he likes the attention. Second of all, but both of y'all, or I think anybody that's on this stream, I don't care if my parents were, supporting me and trying to help me hide. I would never allow my parents to go through what his parents are going through. I would stop it. He is getting kicks off of seeing other people suffer. So that needs to go into what type of person he is to get down to his mentality. Because they can't even mow their grass. You know what I mean? They can't even go out to the mailbox. And I would never allow my parents to have to go through this much torture. So I'm wondering, I'm just looking at the whole thing. He wanted the attention with the bomb threat. He likes the attention he's getting on the side of the road here. He likes the attention this case is drawing him. He feeds off of it. He feeds off of hurting people. So that's something that I'm noticing. I don't know, but it's some type of behavior he has. Like he gets a thrill out of it.
Thank you for your thoughts, Tiffany. Are you going to be near Dawsonville? You should definitely check out Christ Fellowship Church if you are.
And I need to check that out. Basically, we're going up that way. I'm taking my granddaughter up there to go to some festivals, and hopefully I can get these posters out. I just want them brought in, and I appreciate you guys. You know that I've been watching from the very beginning, and I'm a big supporter. But it was just some thoughts I had.
Thank you for calling in.
Thank you. Y'all have a good one.
I want to take a second and thank Praise Adonai, who sent in a super chat a minute ago, and Huda, thank you for your support. And you say, Ali M. and my dearest Faith, I apologize to have to wait before I'm allowed to text. R.I.P. Gabrielle Petito, prayers for the family. Your great sentiments. Tiffany, thank you for the super sticker. Kaylee, thank you for being a part of the channel, for supporting. Just means a lot. Guys, isn't it crazy the community that's being built around here, all rallying around a single cause, people of different ethnicities, literally from around the globe, different socioeconomic backgrounds, all because we're working together for a common goal. Forget about the politics. We want to find Brian.
I just saw someone in the chat that said they agreed with me, and then I started going back through it. I mean, if some bystander would have stepped in at the Moonflower, if some bystander would have stepped in at Mary Piglet, this might have all ended. So if you see domestic violence in real time, I mean, I guess you can't advocate other people to step in there unless you know you can take care of it. But yeah, I've never been afraid to walk into those situations. So
stick up. If you feel it in your heart, something's wrong, do something about it, you know. Tiffany says, Stan Anderson is Chris Laundrie's business partner living in Mexico. I really think that's what the text was about. I know you've been thinking about that, Gavis. Yes or no?
I believe it was sent by Gabby.
Sent by Gabby.
You got to remember, she's fumbling around probably in the dark in the middle of the night and trying to text, and it could have been auto-corrected at certain points when she might have said Yellowstone, and it could have come up Yosemite because, or who knows, right? But I believe for sure that the first Stan text was sent by Gabby. The last one I definitely believe was sent by Brian. But we have to confirm the exact times of those because Brian could have done both at the 30th. We don't know. So until that's confirmed, we can only speculate in that small window.
Laura says the callers tried by calling the police. You're right. They did call the police. And to that, I just think about that moment, like, you got to call the police, because if you see a situation that, and for me, it had to be a really bad situation for them to call the police. Heidi, thank you for the support. Thank you for the sticker. Means a whole lot. Kim says she thinks that the Stan text was sent by Brian, meaning to send to his mom, but used the wrong phone.
Yeah, and then that's where it comes into Chris Laundrie's good childhood friend or whatever, the Stan Anderson. And we're looking into that as well. So it's not like we're ignoring any of this data. We're making note of it as well.
Joe, thank you for the super chat. I kind of think what happened while they were apart when he flew back to Florida plays a big part and would answer a lot. Me too. Want to know, did he go see a psychiatrist? What was he actually cleaning out of a storage unit? Was that storage unit really ending its time? Where did those belongings end up? Is that part of what the FBI took out of the house in those many boxes? Was part of the reason the Petito family was in Florida was not only to retrieve things from the memorial, but also to retrieve things that belonged to Gabby that was in the possession of the Laundrie family? What was Gabby doing for 6 days? Was she in the hotel the whole time? Was she going into Perkins that's attached to the hotel? Did she take off in Salt Lake City and meet some friends on the Bumble app or whatever? Like, what was going on? What happened? Were they in communication? Were they separated because they had a big blow up and they still hadn't resolved it? What was actually happening? And I don't know the answer. There's 1,000 possibilities. I hope we get to know.
Yeah. Literally 1,000 possibilities.
Kim says, yeah, I think that's important and probably why it's being kept quiet. It seems like all the important things are being kept quiet. We got to go find them on our own. We're piecing all together the little puzzle pieces the best we can. It'd be a whole lot better if somebody could just tell us, come on, FBI, invite our YouTube stream into your commanding room where you're thinking about these and allow us to be part of your strategic team. Hey, Lori, how are you?
I'm fine. How are you?
I'm all right.
Okay, I have something kind of strange that I heard today, and I didn't just hear it. There was proof of it. And this woman had went to the police, but she called. Back whenever she was still able to get a hold of Brian Laundrie's dad's phone number. Back in the beginning of all this, she called him, which was a stupid thing to do. I agree. But she called him and, he didn't answer. And she left several, just telling them what kind of creeps they are for doing this to Gabby's parents, not answering the phone, that kind of stuff when they called. And what she thought of Brian. I don't know what all she said to him, but he began calling her back. And he called, are you there?
I heard this. I just don't think it's true, Lori.
Well,
You're
I
talking
heard
about what
the
happened
video of it, but
you're talking about what happened on Ick and Mel's show, and I don't think he thought it was true either. So just, Lori, we got to be careful about what we believe. I don't think that Christopher Laundrie's calling random people, but her name was Donna, but you never know.
Yeah, you don't know for sure that it was him. But all I'm saying is these people are strict down weird people. I've never seen this kind of a people before in my life. How do you let parents suffer the way they did? I don't get it. I don't get it. And I really don't get how nobody can see that Gabby was extremely abused. There's I guess you have to be an abused person to see an abused person. It just makes me cry.
Makes me sad too, Lori. Thank you for calling in today.
Yeah.
Oh, she's heartbroken. That touched my heart there.
Lord, we just pray protection around Lori. Fill her with your strength. Amen. Maureen says, where is the Stan Anderson in Mexico? What was the name of the town that yacht thing was at in Mexico?
Well, there's a bunch of different Stan Andersons. So there's one that's in Fort Myers, which is just south of where the Laundries are right now. There's one up in New Mexico. There's another one in Texas. I mean, we've done the complete individual search. So we're just trying to tie those back somehow.
Maureen, thank you for the super chat. We're working on that. As soon as there's some more information about it, you'll be the first to know.
Yeah, the net's getting closer and closer. Get him soon. He's got to be feeling the pressure now.
I hope and pray that the Lord uses someone from the Feller fam to bring justice. Wouldn't that be awesome?
Absolutely.
Otherwise, it's not done in vain, but we're investing a lot of energy into this. And so it's like, come on, Lord.
Yeah, there's a lot of work.
Those parents were acting odd. She made a great point. If you guys want to join the call, the link's pinned at the top of the chat. We'd love to have you on here tonight. I also want to remind you, if you haven't done so, hit the like button, hit the subscribe button. I cannot believe it that you guys helped me cross the 30,000 subscriber threshold. Unbelievable that you guys would help me in that way. And I just feel like this isn't really my channel. This is all of our channel together. And we're building something really fantastic here, and especially the people who are part of the Feller fam. I want to shout out those of you that joined the Feller fam today. Shout out to Huda, Crazy L, Joe, Debbie, Burger Black, Trekkin' T, Amber, Michael, Simple Things, and Kelsey. Thank you so much for joining the Feller fam. Thank you so much. I'm thinking about starting a Feller fam Facebook group where people who are part of the Feller fam, we can all be in a Facebook group together. It'd be better. I love what we're able to do on Facebook or on YouTube on the membership tab, but I think it would also be really cool to have an additional thing on Facebook as a Facebook group. I haven't had time to put that together yet. If you guys are interested in having a Facebook group together, it's just the Feller fam. Let me know. I can have my assistant set it up probably, because I don't think I'm going to get around to doing it. Because I don't know. It just seems like a task. Lola says this: where do the Laundries make their money? They have a long-time sleazy attorney. I just said that same thing. Like, you got to be there, you got to have some hands in some different things in order to have a family attorney for 20 years. So I know that thank you, praise Adonai, for becoming a member of the Feller fam. I know that Roberta has worked for a number of years at the Suffolk County's office, and it's at the Suffolk County office that she's worked most recently in 2020. Christopher Laundrie had a juicing service company. So I don't know for sure. I can't answer it 100% for sure. It wasn't a juice store. It was a company where they sold and serviced juicers, the actual like machine that places would have used. And there's not a whole, maybe in Long Island or New York, there's more, but there's a lot of places that don't even have juicers. It's not like a blender or a toaster. A lot of places have blenders and toasters. Thank you, Stacy, for joining the Feller fam. Really appreciate your joining. Don't forget to check out those emojis. And I didn't get to see a lot of the comments. I think I saw a few that are saying yes about the Facebook group thing. Were you paying attention to that, guys? Did you see anybody saying?
Yeah, I saw one lady ask if I believe that STAN stood for send the authorities now, and yes, I do believe that is exactly what was meant.
Maureen, how are you?
Hi, how you guys? How are you doing?
Doing well. Thanks for calling in.
Good. Well, I sent the super chat, and you guys really struck me up with the Mexico thing and the Stan Anderson. And we don't know exactly where, right?
No, there's a number of Stan Anderson, so don't go to Mexico yet. That's just one of 6 or 8 different possibilities. We're looking at the Fort Myers one most intently right now because that's really close. So
Wow. Well, I'll tell you what. I'm not a law enforcement or not former or any of this. I am a long time. I had a career as a flight attendant for a major airline, so that's the only thing I can profess is I'm very well traveled.
Was it Delta?
No, I'm not telling.
Oh, okay. I just really like Delta personally.
Hit Clue. They merged with United.
Oh, okay.
You would know that. And I was also based out of Newark and Houston. So, yeah, you'll have to think of that. But I went everywhere around the world, pretty much. Most of my flights were worked, and I was a Spanish speaker. In the Central America.
If you can see, there's my flights, and I have a flight from U.S. Airways. So that.
Yes.
Was that it? U.S. Airways?
No.
Most of my flights are Delta. If I went through them, like you can just see Delta, Delta, Delta,
Yeah.
Delta, Delta, Delta.
No.
Delta.
No. The U.S. Airways is Charlotte, and they used to be with the American.
Okay.
Yeah. So.
Sorry for being off subject, but you're very well traveled.
Maureen, did you?
Well. Yes, sir.
Maureen, did you pay attention to like facial recognition features in airports in Central America, and which ones may and may not have them?
Well, I'll tell you, the more poor countries are just going to be very simple. 1, 2, 3, board the flight. I'll tell you who was really advanced in a very clean airport, and you're going to be surprised, is Caracas, Venezuela.
But do they have facial recognition? Because I've heard they didn't.
Shoot, I don't know. I just know I went through the crew lines when I get on the plane before, and I'm just we would, like Dawn said, we took extraditions and people from Guatemala back to the United States. We took they would always be in the back of the plane. We'd board them first, make it look regular. So, okay, the reason why I'm asking, and bear with me on this, both you guys. Am I having an echo? I'm sorry if I am.
No.
Okay. Well, I'll tell you what. Check into San Carlos, Mexico. It's in the state of Sonora, Gavis. And I've been there. It's south of Hermosillo. It's right on the Gulf of California. And they moor boats there and everything. That's why I was thinking if your Stan guy is part of the broker yacht company stuff.
Right.
That's a lead, a big lead. San Carlos, it's kind of, it's iffy. It's a desert town. Right below is Sinaloa, where El Chapo used to hang out and have his mafia or whatever, his gang. He's now here in the Supermax in Colorado, Florence, El Chapo. Anyways, I didn't want to get off subject, but San Carlos is a small, used to have a Club Med, lots of gringos, lots of moored boats that, you don't check. They can stay for a while. A lot of your chat agrees with that.
Okay. All right. We'll look into it.
Okay.
Noted.
Wow. Noted.
Thanks, Maureen.
Welcome. Bye.
I want to thank she's one of God's warriors who was a counselor and sent in a super chat just saying that this whole thing is breaking her heart. God bless you for what you're doing. God bless you. Thank you for supporting the channel. Joe says this is for everyone, but I'm curious, what do you think if he gets caught, or is he going to turn himself in? I think he'll get caught before he turns himself in, unless he feels like he has a rock solid case, and then he wants to dive into the media circus, and he's going to be able to be post up on, go to trial for 1,000 different reasons, and then that's the thing, I think.
Yeah, I think right now he's only held for like the credit card fraud. So until he can get a serious charge and try to start making some sort of a deal, right? So I don't know. I'm not sure.
Thank you, Fun Size Lady, for becoming a YouTube. For some reason, I already thought you were a part of the Feller fam, but thank you for joining the Feller fam. You joined Stacy, Praise Adonai, Huda, Crazy L, Joe, Debbie, Burka Black, Trekin T, Amber, Michael, Simple Things, and Kelsey. Thank you guys all for being a part of the Feller fam today. Wow. Blows my mind every time that happens, honestly. Just means a lot.
Yeah, no, it feels good. Definitely.
M. Dan says, Gabby was organized, obviously. She won't throw her flip-flops on the ground, as we saw in that clip on the 27th. Felt like Gabby was really organized, and Brian was the exact opposite.
Well, what did she call him? Dirty feet or whatever? Yeah, so, yeah.
Jin B, thank you for working so hard as a moderator today. Why don't you guys give our moderators just a round of applause? Give them some thank yous. They work really hard to make sure our chat is doing what it should be. And they're always posting and interacting with you guys. And so thank you guys so much. Thank you to our moderators. You guys are doing such a great job. We appreciate them. I also want to shout out Dawn. Dawn sent me a PayPal. You can give on PayPal if you go to tylerfeller.com/give. If you don't have a PayPal account, if you wanted to donate through PayPal, my PayPal username is Tyler Feller, or you can donate on Cash App if you have Cash App. Great ways to just support what's happening here. We have another super chat from Robert. Robert, thank you so much. Cassie's husband took 2 courses in police science and criminal justice. Yeah, I thought that was interesting. And the Mustang rode out on the 1st of September. But I did too. Like I had to as a part of getting my degree. It was like a requirement to do those classes. So I don't know if he was getting a degree that made him do that or if he took those because he was interested in it.
And James was also born in Guatemala.
It's interesting he didn't have a accent though, right?
Yeah,
He sounded like a Native American, like a natural born American speaker. He didn't have. Pinky Louise, thank you for joining the Feller fam. It means a whole lot. Excited about all of it. We're up to 2.5 likes on the video. Blows my mind. Want to just shout out Tammy. Tammy, thank you so much for being a part of the Feller fam. You're a big part of what we do around here. I know we can count on one thing, your constant support and positivity flowing through the chats. And so it just means a lot to have you as a part of what we're doing here. And you actually joined the Feller fam at what we're calling the investor level. You have access to my Slack, which a lot of days, that's where I spend most of my time because I do a lot of work on Slack. And so she's on there. And we have a couple other investors. Actually, I have 2 other people that joined at the investor level. And so thank you guys for doing that. We have several people at the producer level. Thank you guys for doing that. Several people at the member level. I want to shout out Alexis Lee, who also is at the investor level. Thank you so much, Alexis Lee, for being a part of the Feller fam at the investor level. Just exciting to me that there's, just people that want to be a part of helping find justice. And Paranormal Country Hunters also at the investor level. Thank you, Paranormal Country Hunters, being at the investor level as well.
Chat's going so fast, it's hard to grab a question. That's good.
I know. I'm like, let's see, what is there in the chat that I can click
Quickly
on?
Read.
Tiffany's talking about the lawyer. She's saying we have one on retainer due to us running our own business. I see that. I can understand that. Had they ran a juicer business for 20 years? That's what I don't know. Tyler and Gavis, amateur sleuths were hugely instrumental in catching the Golden State Killer. Keep it up. Great sleuthing is the entire body of an email that I sent someone today. They sent me some good stuff.
Thank you for the support. I mean, we're not giving up until we catch this guy, or I'm not giving up anyway.
And really, it's to the point where it's like, for me at least, I'm relying a whole lot on information that people are sending to that press@tylerfeller.com.
Mhm.
And then I'm trying to facilitate the best conversations that are going to be most meaningful downline. And so what the role that I feel like I'm playing right now is exactly that role. And so when I get stuff that's sent to me, like what Kim sent to me, I want to dive into it. I don't have
Right.
time to dive into everything, but I want to dive into it because I want to be able to see what is it that people are saying that I haven't had my ear to. And like that lady was calling about that thing from the call from Donna or whatever of Chris. I don't think Christopher Laundrie is doing that. However, at this point in the game, who the heck knows what she was saying? Like, yeah, he called me. We
Yeah.
had a good conversation. Whatever. He keeps calling me. He's a freak. Like, then went into like nasty stuff he was saying. I'm like, I don't.
Yeah.
you-
Mel's fans are loving that Donna call. It's going to become a sound button on his tube or on his channel, I think.
I don't know that. I know this. When I had COVID, I was stuck in my house on quarantine. You start thinking some crazy stuff when you have no contact with the outside world. So they're on lockdown.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah, no, I mean, they've been in there trapped together for 4 weeks, so if there was any problems, it could be even worse now, right?
Seattle Kiwi says nothing would surprise me.
Yeah. Yeah.
Is there anything that would surprise you, Gavis, at this point?
If the lawyer decided to pull Brian out or try to call him out and say, okay, I got this, let's go. But that would surprise me. The lawyer's got to have some sort of a deal in hand before he can even start, I think. So if Brian is hit this well, it's frustrating.
Jane says, do you think he could be communicating via radio or CB or chat side? I don't know about the CB thing because people can pick that up pretty easily.
I had somebody in my chat talking about this, and there's like special instrumentation that you can use
To mask it.
Yeah, it's weird. And there's also another website, I think it's called PIM something, and you can pay your $30 or whatever, and you can just put a portrait of the person's face on there, and it'll go through the entire internet and find everything.
Wow.
I know, right? It's crazy. Like everybody leaves an electronic trail. Like this guy tried it on himself, and well, what he did was it was a guy named Satoshi in China, and he took a picture, and that's all, no clues. He said, "Find me," and somehow these people were able to find him within hours just by a photograph, and showed up at his house and took a picture of themselves and got the reward.
So, Jane, to answer your question, it's not super likely, but possible. I know WhatsApp has end-to-end encryption, and so a lot of people use WhatsApp as their mode of communication. I know that I serve as sort of a pastor for an agency that deals with people who are in really heightened and difficult wrongful imprisonment around the world. And so, like, essentially, like right now we're dealing with the case in Southeast Asia of a girl was wrongfully imprisoned, and now she's came down with cancer. So I'm like calling her over the phone and praying for her. And the agency works to get them out of those countries and back into the USA. And they do it. They've been on the news. They've done it again and again and again. So I sort of am like a pastor to this agency and their clients. And so I'm calling and praying for people that are in these situations, and we use I'm saying all that to say we use WhatsApp as our mode of communication whenever we're doing that. So that's why I know that. Anayela Soto, Anna Yeli Soto, new here. Have you heard anything about the case of Zuzu Verk from Alpine, Texas? Very similar to this case. The boyfriend was hiding in Mexico. I have not heard of that case. I want to know about it.
I haven't heard of that either. There's so many cases. This is rampant everywhere over the world.
Kayla says, do you think it was just an innocent overlook that Brian said he worried she'd leave without him and he didn't have a phone yet, had one in his pocket?
No, I think it was deception. I don't know. Maybe an effort to try to keep them together and not give them put someone in jail that night. I don't know. Because he knew darn well that he had a phone. because you just went and grabbed it afterwards.
Facebook owns WhatsApp, but it's end-to-end encryption, and so that's totally different ballgame than what Facebook Messenger is. So I don't know. Ali, have you heard of Zuzu Vert?
I have not.
Okay. Well, thanks for calling back. What are your thoughts?
I haven't heard of that case, but on the WhatsApp thing, while I was sitting here and waiting, they had that case of terroristic nature where they used WhatsApp for all of their communication, and even the feds couldn't break the code on their messaging. I think that Apple had something to do with that as well, because Apple devices, you can get encryption apps, I believe.
Mm-hmm.
While there was a lull is when I called back in, and I was just wanting to pose the question of, which is slightly off topic, but pertaining to you. After this case is resolved, where will your channel go from here? I'm curious. I'm sure there are plenty of other people that are curious.
That's part of the reason why I want a Feller Fam Facebook group, because I have some ideas, but I want to flesh it out with the people in the Feller Fam and figure it out together.
That makes sense.
Gavis and I have talked some about it, and he may have made some decisions. I haven't made any decisions. He may have made decisions about where his energy's going. I haven't made those decisions
I know that
personally yet.
Gavis has an interest in working with missing and murdered Indigenous women, which is a very prevalent cause both in the United States and Canada, which I think is an awesome thing because it is something I've been researching for the last 2 years. I took care of my grandmother in 2019. I'm born on the reservation in North Dakota, and she was a boarding school survivor. So in her last year of life, I got to hear her story about boarding schools, which led to me involved in MMIW and a lot of very in-depth research on Indigenous issues, which are very close to my home.
Wow.
She came from a family of 18, and they all went to boarding school.
You need to connect on his Discord if you haven't been on there yet. Thank you, Ali, for calling back.
Thank you. You guys have a good night.
Yeah, no, she'd be a good resource.
Some dad says end-to-end encryption means nothing. It just prevents messages from being sniffed out. They can still be subpoenaed, and Facebook owns the servers. Okay. Like, I'm not that. I agree, I guess. I believe you. I'm not up to date on that. I just know we use WhatsApp, but we're not hiding anything from the government. In fact, a lot of times, Gavis, when I'm doing these calls, the government listens in on the calls. Like, I was doing a prayer one time, and it was like, this is the United States Secretary of State's office. And then I was like praying, and then they were like, you have 1 more minute. I'm like, I need more than a minute. You got to give me more than a minute. So I was like literally talking to Secretary of State's office as we were on these calls. So I know that they listen to my phone calls because they hopped in there.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, no.
So you guys will be mostly on Facebook. No, Liz, that's not what we're saying. We're saying people who are in the Feller Fam, I'm going to have a Facebook group. I'm going to be on YouTube. That's not what we were saying at all. I'm sorry for the miscommunication on that. YouTube is where these videos are happening. I just wanted to have conversations with people who are Feller Fam members. Lone Wolf, how are you?
I had a question on the campers and the RVs. Is there any way you can track title search or insurance on those to maybe find the old camper?
It depends on like the level of camper, right? Like some campers are small enough a size you don't even have to register them at all. Some of them are the ones where you tow behind and they have to have a license plate and all of that. So it's a good place to look. It depends on the camper and it depends on how willing they are to follow the laws.
And I have one more question. Do you think somebody tipped him off that they were going to put a warrant for the credit card?
I think he knew that warrants were coming for bigger things, and he didn't need to be tipped off.
I think they were prepared for any scenario that was going to come out. Stolen vehicle, credit card, anything.
Well, I think you guys are doing an awesome job, and I really enjoy watching your channel.
Thanks, Lone Wolf.
You're welcome. Have a good evening.
Somebody said, I need to get a Discord. I don't know how to work a Discord. My Discord is Gavis's Discord. He is my Discord. And he and I actually had a conversation about that last night. I told him, like, I don't have energy to do a Discord. I don't understand how they work. I don't even know what it is. I don't even want to be on it. He was like, come join my Discord. I'm like, I don't want to. I'm sorry, I don't want to.
It's really easy once you get in there. You just basically hit on my icon and pick a room that you want to hang out in. We've got, we've probably got 15 different rooms right now. We have about 60 people working away. So we've got a room where you can go into the book club. You can pick up any one of the books from Chuck Palahniuk and sit there and read it and drop your notes in a different section. And if we need to use one of those resources, we'll go in there and we'll pull from the thoughts that people have put down.
That's great. I'm glad you have that. I'm glad it's working towards our cause of finding Brian. And I just encourage anybody to join yours. But for me, I'm sticking to YouTube. If you're part of the Feller Fam, the membership program that we have here where you have access to the special emojis and all that, I'm going to figure out how to do a Facebook group for us, for those of you guys who want to be on that. And I think that'd be good for us to have some good conversation and dive deeper in that way on that. At the end of the day, hey, we want to find Brian, and I think it's better to consolidate. The Gavis and I are not competing in any way on any level of anything.
No.
So
no, I think we make everything stronger. I think that if anything, we ferret out the people that are crappy and just clickbaity type people. So let's get rid of them. They don't need to be here.
Yeah, so
there's plenty of room for all of us, especially if we bring good content to the stream and a positive energy that everybody can, kind of release some of this stress and anxiety that everybody's building up over this case. It's infuriating.
Mary Donna, thank you for the super chat. Suzanne, thank you for becoming a member. How do you pronounce your last name? Suzanne Uncle Ijaja. Uncle, how do you think you say that? Uncle.
No, it's just Susan O.
Susan, just very. Stacy, how are you? She joined and then disappeared. Suzanne Ijaja. Uncle Ijaja. Suzanne Uncle Ijaja. Gotta be close. Gotta be close to that. How many people in the chat think I said her last name correctly? Let me know. It's got to be close to that. Amy says a lot of this is very similar to the Alexis Sharkey case. YouTube influencer strangled husband. Some people are saying, like, nah, I don't think you said that right. YouTube influencer strangled husband, fled after he went under the radar when cops finally pinned him as a suspect. Wow.
One thing I was thinking about today, Tyler, is instead of oh wait.
Hi guys.
Hey.
How did I get on here?
You're on here. Gavis was telling me something he was thinking about today.
So
did you want to carry on? Okay.
Yeah, just let me make a really quick point. If in some of these cases, why aren't the cops putting some sort of a ankle bracelet on these potential runaway type people, right? Like they have to have a tracking device on the criminals. I know we were looking at it from the other angle where, we could get some sort of a bracelet for kids. But how about we get, if you're even suspected in any way, shape, or form, like especially in a case like this with the domestic violence, get an ankle bracelet so you know exactly where that person is. If it's cut off, bam, cops are there in 2 seconds. And it's not, you're not guilty. It's just we got to keep track of you.
Michelle says you need a Patreon account. I agree. My schedule is way more crazy and busy than anybody could realize. So if you want to help me set one up, figure all that out, email me.
A page and a group is easy to do actually on Facebook, and they'll connect to all of this for you.
I understand about that.
I just recently did it.
I just like to have graphics and all the stuff that match, and I just don't want to take time to
All the
make it.
really cool stuff. Yeah, that's something to learn too.
Sylvia,
how you guys doing tonight?
We're doing well. I'm sorry. I'll get with you in just a second. I'm trying to get through some of this stuff that's coming in, and we just added you to the screen so you get to enjoy it with us. Sylvia says, would you guys be able to have a conversation with Brian Laundrie? If so, what would you learn from? I would. I'm totally like, take me into the darkest places and let me try to, be led by the Holy Spirit and see what God may do. And I would love to be able to have a conversation with Brian Laundrie. In fact, I've been saying it since the beginning. Let me have a conversation with him. Let me pray with him. Let me see if I can build relationships with him in any type of way where I then can get down into a deeper level of conversation. So I think I would begin to ask him some stuff that, like, hey man, I know you really like hiking. Me and my cousin go hiking all the time. What's your favorite place? Like, why do you like that? And just do some level of relationship building, and then get to the stuff I really want to know. What happened?
I think we should go straight there.
What happened?
I think
if you do that though without building relationships, they're not going to answer anything.
I don't believe that because I've been involved with a few narcissists, and my ex of 2 years now, very much similar to Brian Laundrie, and there's no way they want to talk about themselves. They want you to ask them deep questions so you feel remorse for them, so you give them sympathy, like he's talking to the officers here, and they're basically patting him on the back. It's like,
but if you say something, if you say something too soon, they get really defensive. So you got to be very careful.
He knows he's already in this situation though, right? And if he's watched you, and I think that you have built a huge trust group here, like you guys are doing awesome. I've been watching this since the first night, right? I don't know. I don't think he should be handled with care. I don't think he's gonna lose it. You know what I mean? I just think someone needs to go in and ask the straight down question. It's just like they did with the fellow that they're comparing him to.
Well, that's a thought. That's not how I would do it. I was just answering the question that somebody sent in. Mary Beth, thank you for joining the Feller fam. Appreciate that you're a part of what we're doing here. Miriam says maybe you can visit him in prison. I would like to, if they would have let me to, if there's some way to build a relationship.
And I think I'd be on the other side. I think I've already been inside this kid's head. I've seen all the dark holes and all the rest of it. And I don't think it's that interesting. I think he's a bit of an idiot, and he's a lowlife. There's nothing really good or interesting about this guy. Dahmer or some of these guys, now that's interesting. This guy's, he's just a loser.
No, I don't think about it in those terms. Like Dr. Phil would. He needs to be Dr. Phil'd.
So what are your thoughts? Love your guts. Why were you?
What are my thoughts? Wow, I was watching you guys and your face, especially you, Gavis, in the big press conference yesterday, right? When that it was very unprofessional. I first want to say, because they're sitting there, they're not even prepared. He's laughing, it's just like, wow. And then he comes out with what he had to say, and yes, he has to get straight to the point, because they don't want to put too much out there right now. And I again know what they mean by that. And even, I don't know, the laws are a little bit different here in Canada. Like, I know if in that moment me and the ex would have been gone to the jail, like we would have been gone in handcuffs to the jail, you know what I mean? So anyways, I just wanted to comment on that. I thought that it was, unprofessional. And then, like you had mentioned last night about him cutting the grass, and it was kind of like I don't know if it was a slap in the face. I'd like to think not, but their actions speak louder than their words, really, the Laundries. And then he's out cutting his grass. I don't know how he keeps it together. There was one reporter in his face this morning while he was doing it, just screaming at him. And then you got Brian Entity, who is calmly asking him questions, and you see him pause there for a second, and you think he's going to say something. It was just like, oh my God, he didn't say a word, right?
Yeah, he's not saying anything. Hey, thank you for calling in today. Really appreciate your insight.
Ronnie,
Thank you for
one
watching
more
our
thing.
videos.
One more thing, please. One more thing. No.
Okay,
Am I
sure.
still here?
Yeah.
Okay, I will. So, number one, I don't know if you guys talked about it, but the bunker. So you don't have to answer that. I'll listen for that later if you want to talk about Bitcoin. I wanted to know if there was anything about Bitcoin. And if there, yep, we'll go at that right now. Thank you guys. I love this show.
Thank
You're
you.
doing awesome.
I'll say about the bunker, I personally don't believe that there's a bunker. Although Grizzly True Crime made a video about bunkers, and she's going to come on the show maybe next week. I'm going to come on her show, I think on Monday. I'm going to have her on this show, and we can ask her about the bunker because she's more up to date with it than I am. I didn't believe
There's a really cool series on them actually about leaving us to die, and it's all about the government and or people with in power or money who they showed all these bunkers that were built, like, and that was the first thing that came into my mind was why wouldn't they have a bunker? And I also, I just had it. Yeah,
well, thanks
I don't
for
know.
calling in.
I don't think it's not. I just don't think. I think it's possible if he's not out there surviving out of the woods. But like, there was a show on tonight before the Joe Walsh show. I don't know if you guys watched it, but he had quite a few things to say on there.
I did not have any time to watch anything today. Thank you for calling in.
Okay, thank you guys. Have a good night.
I don't watch TV anyways. Huda says, congratulations. I can't text yet, but I seriously believe that he was involved in the Moab couple and Robert's killing. He must have had a psychosis episode. I think a lot of people are agreeing with you on that one for sure. And I just want to shout out Treese. Treese, thank you so much for the super sticker. Means a whole lot. And about Huda, who was just texting in, she can say more about the psychosis thing than we can because she's an actual licensed therapist. So I find that really important and interesting. ING killed lots of women in California and run to California, and when the United States did the extradition death penalty off the table.
Yeah, that Charles Ng was a crazy guy. I think they caught him in the bay in downtown Calgary, actually.
Yeah. Thank you, Robert, for bringing that to light, helping us think about that. Yeah, schizophrenia manifests in early adulthood, just saying. Yeah, I think we've mentioned that, but yeah, it starts to manifest end of teenagers, early 20. Lone Wolf?
Thank you for the super chat.
He's behind. Can't have people who are behind on the call. It just reverberates back and forth. Nobody hears anything, and
Good
then
times.
It becomes pointless.
Good times.
Valerie says, ladies, do not pick up a hitchhiker. Okay. I'm with him. With her. The thing about the Bitcoin that Love Your Guts was saying, I hadn't thought about that. Bitcoin apparently is untraceable, right? I don't know. I have a very tiny amount of Bitcoin, like tiny amount. I've never used it for anything. I don't know how you use it, but it's supposedly untraceable, right?
Yeah, it's awesome.
Some Dad, thanks for calling in. How are you?
Hey, can you guys hear me all right?
We're doing well.
Hey, so I just kind of wanted to ask, what do you guys think the odds are that he'll actually walk away from this if it was to go to trial?
Higher than what most people think.
Because, I mean, you look at, O.J. Simpson, Casey Anthony in Florida. I mean, if he can prove that he wasn't there at the time, which my personal belief, that's why he was out hitchhiking to try to form alibis. He'll be found guilty on, stealing the credit card, freaking out, going home with the car. But I mean, as of right now, I don't think they have enough to prove that he murdered her.
I hope it's a trap. I hope that they have got tons and tons of evidence and they're trying to convince the lawyer that they have nothing.
Yeah, I thought about that too. I mean, I've thought all the way to kind of some weird thoughts here on like the couples that are outside on the bullhorns. That to me screams like it's some kind of psyops. You know, every hour for 5 minutes, they're screaming in over and over and over for weeks. They're trying to drive that family out to do something, to make a mistake. I wanted to, if I could, comment on a couple things. The one thing you said earlier was the Stan reference. You can actually disprove this if you do some advanced Google searches and search for any reference of Stan, the acronym of it, anytime before 2021, it didn't exist. So I would say that's pretty safe to say that one's ruled out. As for who Stan is, that I don't know who sent that message. It's can only be speculated.
Right.
And I did want to mention as well, I'm big into tech. It's what I do for a living. The end-to-end encryption that only prevents me from grabbing your message out of the air if I was to be like, you know, sniffing packets or somehow stealing those messages. They're going to be encrypted. It's the same way when you process a credit card on a website and the website has the padlock that's encrypted. Those servers still know what your credit card number is. They have to communicate that to the bank. So Facebook would be able to be subpoenaed and say, oh, here's their full list of messages. So,
but theoretically, they couldn't do like from a burner phone that's not attached to anybody's name, run it through a VPN even, and then go onto WhatsApp.
No, the VPN's only going to mask your IP address and location. So, I mean, they could still have those messages, but like the messages themselves they would have as far as like where they're sent from, it wouldn't be. But I mean, if he just grabbed a random phone number and was calling people who were also on a burner phone, it'd be just as untraceable. Yeah, I just don't foresee that. There's a lot of theories out there that like just some common sense and logics of it. Like, is he in a bunker? You know what I mean? In the yard. Do you think the neighbors would have seen a backhoe coming in over the last year and digging out half the yard to put a bunker in?
I said that too.
You know, it's just not plausible. So my honest belief is, you know, his family maybe had cash on hand and gave him $10,000-$20,000 to go see what he can do. But in today's day and age, how far does that get you? You know, $20,000, you're not going to be able to go rent somewhere. Somebody knows your face. You're going to be able to go to the grocery store. He's got like maybe 6 months that he's going to be able to figure something out. And he's going to have to come out. He's going to have to ask for more money. He can't get a job. Even if he works under the table somewhere, it's a big risk. You know, I just don't see this playing out longer than 6 months. And, you know, if it comes to the end of it, I don't think we'll see him take it to trial. I think he'll decide that's that, and that's the end of it.
Thank you for your thoughts.
Yeah.
I just had one of my Discord people said that maybe the female ranger could have told Gabby about that STAN acronym if she was in trouble.
Well, it was sent on a text message.
But you said that it wasn't coined until 2021. So if the stop on the 12th, the female officer could said, hey, look, if you're having any more trouble, make sure you text somebody the word STAN.
Well, what good's that going to do? You know what I mean? Her mom doesn't know what STAN means. The officer. So there's an interesting thing police do, and you can actually see them do it in this video. Police will actually, there's a reason when they walk up behind your car in a sketchy situation, they touch your vehicle. And it's so they leave DNA on that vehicle. So if that vehicle's scrapped, burned, destroyed, they can still take their DNA off the vehicle and prove that it was that vehicle. So you can see at the end of the police video, one of the cops puts his hand on the back of the car. There's a reason for that. And they do that in domestic violence cases. So she wouldn't say, hey, use the word Stan in case you're murdered. Or in case something really bad happens, we know, there's some tie there. She would say, call the police. You know what I mean? Like, just logically, she wouldn't tell you to text somebody a word.
If you guys think the bunker situation's debunked, why don't you use that debunked emoji that we have?
Yeah, there's no way the bunker. There's not a chance. The amount of things you need to survive in a bunker, as far as airflow. I mean, look at the water table in Florida. That bunker can't even be that deep. There's no possible way.
So what do you think happened then? Tell me what you think's going on.
I think he's probably put up somewhere.
So like what
I don't want to say like a hotel, but
were you on here when the U.S. Marshal was on it earlier?
I haven't caught up on anything today. So if it's a video from today,
no, it's just a caller on this channel.
No, I have not. What'd they say?
Basically what you're saying right now.
That he's probably just put up somewhere and his lawyer knows where he's at.
Yeah. Hey, Michael, thank you so much for sending a super sticker. And then thank you, Cece, for joining the Feller fam. It means a lot that you guys would support in that way. Justine, thank you for the super chat. Hey, Tyler, would you know what the Laundries did with the laundry baskets on their yard? I don't know what they did. I was wondering that too. That's a great question. Also, is Brian vaccinated? I don't know about that either.
I'm going to jump out of here, guys. I just wanted to say one more thing, that his lawyer would not keep saying that he's representing Brian if he didn't believe Brian was alive or knew he was alive.
That's what the former FBI agent said today on the news.
Yeah, it's just some legal verbiage there to kind of send the signal that he's...
What's your background?
He's there. I've been in tech for probably 15 years. I write code, software, dashboards. So I have a big influence there. I've been in true crime. I'm going to be going back to school for psychology, hopefully this year. I want to get into criminal justice. Yeah. So, I mean, that's me.
Thanks for calling in.
All right, guys. Have a good night.
Justine, I have no idea what they do with the laundry baskets, but I've definitely thought about it. I have no idea if he's vaccinated either. There's no way for me to even speculate. If I guessed, most young people that I know chose not to get vaccinated until the past few months. And the past few months, they were on a road trip across the country. So they might have been vaccinated before they went across the country because they didn't want to deal with it. Sarah says, are you donating any money to the Gabby Foundation? Yeah, I've made that abundantly clear multiple times that I am. So Gavis, and what I do with my personal money is probably not her business either, I don't think. Anyways, so Gavis, what do you think they did with those laundry baskets?
Oh, they're probably put them in the garage in a big stack.
I thought if they sold those things on eBay, that's where they could be getting their money from. Actual laundry baskets touched by the Laundrie family. Like they don't even need, at this point, they don't even need,
Oh, man. Laundry baskets full of lawn clippings.
Yeah. At this point, they don't even need a job. They can just sell stuff that people put in their yard.
Yeah, they could start bottling the dirt out of those planters for real money. It's like Mount St. Helens ash.
People think that Stan thing's in reference to Eminem.
I know there's a lot of different theories. So,
what is the Stan Eminem theory?
It's Eminem wrote a song called Stan. I can't remember the exact meaning of the song, but it's something about abuse and things like that.
Eminem Stan lyrics. All right. My tea's gone cold. I'm wondering why. I got out of bed and all. The morning rain clouds up my window and I can't see it all. And even if I could, it'd be all gray. Put your picture on my wall. It reminds me that I'm not so bad. It's not so bad. Dear Slim, I wrote you, but you still ain't calling. I left my cell, my pager, and my home phone at the bottom. I sent 2 letters back in autumn, and you must have not got them. I'm not understanding the connection between this quite yet.
Yeah, I don't think I ever did either.
I read about your Uncle Ronnie too. I'm sorry. I had a friend kill himself, some who didn't want him. I know you probably hear this every day, but I'm your biggest fan. I even got the underground that you did with Scam. I got a room full of your posters and your pictures, man. I like the stuff you did with Raucous too. That was fat. I've not ever heard the song, but I'm not. I don't know what. I'm not. Okay, they're saying last verse. I'm like, all right. Like, Dear Stan, I meant to write you sooner, but I've been busy. You said your girlfriend's pregnant now. How far along is she? Look, I'm really flattered you would call your daughter that. And here's an autograph for your brother. I wrote it on my starter cap. I'm sorry I didn't see you at the show. I must have missed you. Don't think I did that intentionally just to diss you. But what this say about cut your wrist? I say that stuff's just clowning, dog. How messed up is you? You got some issues, Stan. I think you need some counseling to help you from bouncing off the walls. Get you some. And what about that stuff we meant to do together? Meet each other. I really think you and your girlfriend need each other, or maybe just treat her better. I hope you read this letter. I hope it reaches you in time. But before you hurt yourself, I think you'll be doing just fine if you relax a little. I'm glad I inspire you, but Stan, why are you so mad? I don't know. I'm not. What are the chat saying as I was reading through that?
Yeah, it's a pretty weak connection in my opinion. So is it karaoke night? Is it my turn to do
Yeah,
my go-to song or?
Yeah. My go-to song karaoke is what's that song? Wagon Wheel.
Mine is Amarillo by Morning.
Okay. Well, I think that's a good time for us to end the stream tonight. When we end the stream, Gabby and I are going to be doing karaoke. So
Yeah, we'll open the show next one. We'll open it up like that.
Thank you guys for joining. I'm going to be on tomorrow night. It'll be at 8:45 p.m. Central Standard Time. The reason why is because I'm going to be traveling the next couple days, and so I'm going to have to do it again later. So see you guys tomorrow.